Here we go. Ready?
Ready. Hello and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I am your host, Kelly. Please forgive me if I sound a little stuffed. I am just getting over COVID. I managed to skip 3 years of it and then, yay, I got it today. Well, not today. I'm just getting over it. We had it last week. But welcome to the show. I have a wonderful panel for you tonight, and we're going to go over some fun questions. Well, I don't know if it's going to be fun. What do you guys think? You read the questions. Think it's going to be fun?
It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
Of course,
Okay,
it's
well,
always fun.
When
it's
Raul's
always
here,
fun.
indeed.
Raul's
Yeah.
here.
When
Okay.
Raul's here, yeah.
Well, that is true. It is fun when he's here. It's fun when everybody that is here tonight is here. I do want to go over some housekeeping. I want to say thank you to Lapeef Network for helping us set up the show. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to this channel and also subscribe to the Lapeef Network. They're two separate channels. And thank you to the sponsor, Tees Hanley, for always supporting us. And if you have a man face, you should get this product because it makes it very smooth. It's a great gift to get for your husband for Valentine's Day if you have a man, definitely. Yes, it makes it nice and smooth and clear and exfoliates. Feels amazing. My guy wears it and not wears it, uses it, and his face is nice and smooth. And also, I wanted to introduce the panel, and then I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves. Oh, to mention nice skin, did you want to shout out your line, Fee?
Hi, everyone. My name is Fee Robinson. I own High Skin, which is a plant-based organic skincare line. We are based in British Columbia, Canada, and we would love for you to support. It is for a great cause. Portion of the product purchase will go towards a charity that you would like. So it's of your choice, and it makes you feel better about yourself and your skin. You just feel good all around, right? So you can
Where can
find
they
me.
find it?
Yes. So Instagram _high skin, or the website, which is www.highskinlife.com. So message me there. Message me on Instagram. I got you.
Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself next, Trigger Mike, and also shout out your show?
Oh yeah, I'm Trigger Mike. How y'all doing? Who am I? Yeah, I have the Trigger Mike show. Comes on weekday mornings on the Lapeef Network. So make sure you check that out. Like, subscribe. You can also check me out on my personal channel, Trigger Mike Show, on YouTube and Instagram for the shorts. Usually are the topics that are coming up on the Trigger Mike Show on the Lapeef Network. So make sure you check that out. We're trying to take over YouTube. We're trying to be the best show and most engaging show on YouTube. We have several breakthroughs, contentious topics, and all that messy, ratchet stuff. But we also get down to business and talk about some mature topics as well. So make sure you share that out. And also always tune into the Lapeef Experience and Bridging the Gap with Kelly. All right. So I'm going to pass it off to the next person.
Sayeda.
Hey, my name is Zaira. I'm from El Salvador. And I am a regular person. I don't have channels or none of that. So.
Why don't you have a channel? I feel like I see you on so many panels. You might as well just start a channel.
No, this is not for me. It requires a lot of time, though.
You should record when you do your tours and start posting that, because why wouldn't people want to see that?
I do it on Instagram for the page,
you do?
But it requires a lot of editing after, and then I'm busy, so yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm taking it one step at a time. Eventually I'll have more time to do that, but yeah. I do own a business. It's a tour company or tour operator business in El Salvador, so I work with tourists a lot, and mostly our group, tourists. So yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm an English teacher, and I am a full-time mother. Yep.
Big up yourself.
Okay. Which is a big job. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Raul Duke, last but not least, please introduce yourself.
My name is Raul Duke. I am a doctor of journalism. I have multiple international feeds that you most likely read that I use underneath a pseudonym. I am a champion bobsled captain, proliferator of woodcutting tools, and also a famous discotheque instructor. And I am just happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. I mean, you're so highly decorated.
I'm confused. Are you any of this you just said in real life?
You know, on YouTube,
you got about a 1 in 5 chance. I am a disco instructor, though. I have a new tool that I'm using. Let me show you how it works. Watch this.
I'm so interested.
And that's how we do the disco right there.
All right.
Oh gosh, whew, I love it. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Lapeef Jr., the man who needs no introduction. But if you would like to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome to.
Hello, everyone. I am Lapeef Jr.
Dog, that sounded recorded.
You did. Are we going to see your face this evening, or are we just doing the voice?
Nah, I'm going to cam up in a second. I'm just getting my makeup on.
Okay. You don't need any makeup with all that tige.
Well, T sent it. That's something that I'm trying out new.
The sunglasses in the hat is his makeup.
It is.
He's in production. Leave him alone.
Character on. All right. Well, if you guys are ready, I'm ready to get the show started now that we have housekeeping and introductions out of the way. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and hit the little notification bell so you know when the shows are going to go on here on this channel. If you are subscribed to Lapeef Network, that does not mean you're subscribed here. So hit the button and also become a member. We do take donations, not like the church, but they're super chats. So feel free to join in on the fun. And we're going to go ahead and get started. If you want your comment highlighted, then you just need to super chat it and I will read it out loud to everyone. All right. Are we ready? I always start with an icebreaker. So I have a good one. I think it's a good one. And I don't have a trivia game today because I was not feeling like it. We'll be back next week with the trivia game. All right. I'm sorry. Next week. So, icebreaker is: you have been married for 10 years. For the most part, you are happy. But one day you get a phone call and the information you receive makes you walk up to your spouse and immediately ask for a divorce. What did the person on the phone say?
She's a man.
What?
First thing that came to my head.
Okay.
You've been married for 10 years, Mike. You would have known by now.
I'm just saying, so like, what information could you possibly hear about your significant other that would make you call it quits immediately?
Oh, yeah, I thought I was joking. That was it. I was dead serious. Okay. I'll think of something else. Somebody else go.
She cheated on you.
I would say no. Probably I would say like he committed a crime or something. But in order, I mean, there has to be an investigation, so it cannot be just a phone call, you know. And I'm not gonna just follow. Oh, he's guilty. I'll you know, from that conversation. So it has to be something really. What if they're really like, bad,
check your cell phone, and they literally have him like standing over somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And it's bloody, and you're like, okay. Okay, yeah. So if you have evidence, that's your reason.
Harming a kid, doing something to my kid. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I wouldn't go for divorce. I'll go and hire someone to kill him.
No, I would divorce.
Go right ahead. Whoever's next, go ahead. You guys.
No, I was volunteering my assassination services for Saya.
Oh.
Like I told my friend, his wife has a huge insurance policy. I'm very good with a pillow. Just real quick. Split it with me, no problem. The crimes, if she commits like a low-level crime, no problem. See, they hurt a kid or they murder somebody, I agree. But a low-level crime, no, I'm with her. And I will help her conceal her crime She's my woman. We're gonna work together. But if you cheat on me, fuck you.
Nice.
Okay.
I will divorce
so
you.
She can commit a crime. She can be a criminal.
She can rob a bank. No problem. Split the money with me, baby. I'll help you hide it in the Cayman Islands. I'm down with that.
Okay.
If you break our marriage vows, we got a problem.
Okay. So it's different for everyone. Sayeda will not stay with a criminal. You will not stay with a cheater. What about you, Fee?
For me, I think I was in a situation.
Might won't stay with a man.
Listen, I'll be mad too if I found out that was a woman, but it was, somehow she grew a dildo or whatever, a penis. I'll be mad too. Right? Come on, that's crazy. But anyway, I think for me, because I was in a 7-year marriage, and I found out he had cheated, but then even then I didn't leave. What I got divorced for was violence, the person just not who he was,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so crime obviously, but I wouldn't stand for a person if he had a baby on me. No, I'm leaving at that point.
That one I'm really for. If a dude ain't beating your ass, you ain't going nowhere. You shouldn't go anywhere. Or beating the children or something like that to a abusive degree. But when a dude has a baby on a woman, I kind of understand that one. Because the thing about that is, even as common as people say it has been, yes, I'm gonna have to explain that to my wife, but that's not what I'm scared of. I don't want to explain that to my children. That's gonna hurt me because they're not gonna understand. That's gonna make me look crazy. And I don't want to ever have to explain that to my kids. So that's where I'm okay, I understand if you want to leave if somebody had a baby on you.
Wait a minute, a baby with another woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
not with me. Yeah. Bye.
Well, I was in a situation like that. I was engaged, and he came home. And he was crying. He was all nervous. And I was the first thought is he cheated or something. What did you do? But he really didn't want to tell me. He found out that he had a kid. And he found out of a friend that told him, because the mother never told him, because it was kind of a one night stand. They were drunk and it just happened. So she felt like he wasn't responsible. But I was how old is the baby? And he said, oh, she's 6 months. Okay, plus 9 months of pregnancy. I wasn't here. So to me, it was okay, and is she asking for help, or how are you going to help her, or, are you going to meet the baby? So I started asking logic questions. I'm not going to just jump and say, oh, okay, I'm not going to deal with this. It's just
so
not
it was
me.
Before. It was before you. It wasn't during you.
Right. Correct.
But you would feel different if it was during you, while you guys.
Definitely. I would definitely feel in a certain way, but I just can't blame a kid for the parents, choices. I'll need to know more info about it.
No, that would be it. That happened to one of my friends. Her son and his brother, who's with another woman, are a couple of days apart in age. And she didn't know. She had married him and was pregnant, and she found out that literally he cheated on her within a couple of days, right before they got married or something like that. It's pretty terrible.
Wow. Wild ass bachelor parties, I tell you.
I don't know what it was, but her son has a brother that's his exact age. Yeah.
See, and then how would you explain that to the son? Hey, I would be in a really awkward position to having to say, hey, you have a stepmom.
That's what I don't want to do, right? I look like a creep with my own kids.
I don't know. My deal breaker, well, I'm not gonna say. So what I would have to find out is that he was a woman at one point. Maybe he was born a lady. That wouldn't be cool with me. Or if he did something with another guy, because it would just change my view of him. It would.
I miss that one. You about your sexuality. If they lie to you about their sexuality, that's got to be a big deal. You need to be straight
up.
Yeah,
if I found out you used to slap somebody else's knob, like I can't see you as like the man in my life anymore.
That's fair. No. That's fair. I'm sure it works the same way for homosexuals. I've read a lot to where bisexuals actually have a problem, especially women bisexuals who have a problem with women that have been with men. And they want you to only be lesbian. And if you've been with a man or you keep talking about men, it pisses them off. To be straightforward about your sexuality, especially in today's age, where we're all much more open about what we feel, I feel that is a very important part of a relationship and the trust building exercises. You must tell them, I am interested in this sex or that gender, yada, yada, yada. I think that's an important part. So that's not a bad thing.
I mean, listen, the part that really baffles me about the direction we're going as a people on that particular topic, they feel like they don't have to disclose any of that. And I ain't with that.
No, I need to know. I need to know. Yeah. I need to know if you're tonguing me down. You used to be tonguing something
exactly.
Else down. I need to know. I need to know. That needs to be a conversation.
That's a fair deal. For government benefits, all that bullshit, that doesn't matter. But for a romantic relationship, yes, you have a responsibility to be honest with your romantic partner. Why would you not be? It would be lying to not do it.
I agree. I also agree with Sayeda as far as messing with kids. That would be a no for me. I will be out. Did you ladies hear the question? Or would you like to answer it? No. It's the icebreaker. We haven't gotten to the first topic yet. The icebreaker was, you have been married for 10 years. For the most part, you're happy. But one day you get a phone call and the information you receive makes you walk up to your spouse and immediately ask for a divorce. What did the person on the phone say? Pretty much what information could someone say to you that would...
Probably that the bank account is overdrawn. I mean, that's just...
just overdrawn.
That's it.
That's it?
I'm sorry.
That $10 overdraft?
Good God almighty. You got to be squared away to be on a Mirrors team. Jesus help.
I'm kidding. I'm saying it because people have always accused me of being the biggest gold digger, and I swear I'm not.
Right. Oh, dang. Anything else, but don't let the account be overdrawn.
I mean, divorce. I mean, we don't really believe in divorce. There's not really many things that could do that in our situations. I mean, we usually make it through anything, including poverty, domestic violence, cheating, whatever have you. The typical things that break up Americans or Westerners, we typically just see it as another day in life. You know, this is just who you married.
So, like, if you found out, he used to be a pedophile before he married you, like, that wouldn't be like a deterrent in your mind?
A pedophile is a person who is with children, prepubescent, correct? Children. Mm-hmm. Yes, that, I mean,
Invoke Order 66. You know you're going to try to find a way to delete him from this world so you can release yourself from your obligation.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I'd divorce. I think I would feed him to the wolves at that point, and that that will, and you know, in consequence, bring on a divorce. I will be single, but not because I divorced.
That solves two problems with one solution. That's fantastic.
I don't think I would divorce, but I think he would have to. Yeah.
You're a widow.
You need any of that work? I'll give you a discount since we're cool.
I'd be a widow.
I don't off people, by the way.
That was the one Sayeda said, and I was like, yeah, that's a big one for me too.
Well, that's just because in today, look, we have established as a society since, you know, I want to say at least 200, 300 years that children because before in the olden time, there was no such thing as childhood. Virgin Mary, she was 12 when she had Jesus. So it's like those days were different, right? But in today, we have established that childhood is to be respected and not to be touched. So if my current husband was to be that type of person who chooses to mess with children in the childhood days, I would be worried. I'd be worried, and I would just take him out of his own misery, because I feel that that is a disease, and he must be suffering mentally, and he must need someone to blow his head off so that he doesn't suffer any further.
Like where your head's at.
I mean, the same thing with homosexuality for me. Same thing with homosexuality. If you are suffering that way, you know, you have to either seek treatment or, you know, find a way out of it, because homosexuality is another thing that I believe is a mental disease, is a mental illness that people are suffering from. So
that's very interesting, because the Western world has very much moved towards accepting homosexuals as, like, you know, 3 to 12% of the population. They're going to be born that way. And so you're saying 12% of our human population, just right out of the gate, we got to kill them.
No, I don't mean kill. In their case, kill, no, because I wouldn't consider it like something as vicious as messing with children. Of course, it's not as vicious. It's not that vicious. But at the same time, I think that they are suffering mentally. And people argue that people are born that way. Well, if that's the case, then you must then assume the same with any disability. A person who's born without an arm or born with a malfunctioning leg, it's the same thing. Okay, it's not their fault that they were born that way, but nonetheless, they are not right. They're disabled in a way. And we have to, as society, try to fix it, or, you know, but I don't believe that promoting it as a lifestyle or promoting it to children as just another way of life, children, it's okay, or embracing and celebrating it is the right thing, because that is celebrating the less healthy of us. No other species of animals does that they put the disabled one as a leader. There's no wolf pack that would choose the weaker one or the disabled one to be the leader or to be looked up to. It just doesn't happen.
I will say that I respect the logic behind your decision. I come from a different path of philosophy, which is, you know, human beings are going to have a certain portion of us who are going to be homosexual. And there are other species of animals that have homosexual animals. There's a whole lot of sexual relationships in different species. But we're going to use humans, because you're using it as a religious spot, as more like to God. Well, I mean, as it comes out,
I wasn't talking about God, though. I was just talking about being a human.
For me, I'm a little bit of a religious person. I do believe that God made all of us, yada, yada. Yeah. There's going to be 7 to 12% of our population is going to be homosexual. That's how it goes. I understand where you're coming from, and I respect your intelligent description of your point of view. 100%. I'm not fighting with you here on this.
But
I am saying I disagree with. We used to say that it was, in the Western civilization, we used to say that it was a mental deficiency, the same as schizophrenia, bipolar, all of that. You're homosexual. From the scientific evidence, they've gone forward to say that our species produces a certain number of homosexuals. Are heterosexuals going to be the majority? Yes. But will there always be homosexuals? Yes. You can't breed it out. And so then you have to decide whether or not you want to persecute them or allow them into society. You have said, and you've got good arguments, I don't agree with them, but you have good arguments from your point of view, that they should be persecuted. They should not be part of our society. We should try to change them.
No, not persecuted. That I said we should treat them as any disabled person, like you need help, but we're not going to promote you or celebrate you because you're not well in the head. That's the only thing I'm saying. You have a hormonal imbalance or a trauma. You have a hormonal imbalance or a trauma that has made you turn this way. Now, just like a pedo, you're not supposed to indulge, even if you have those feelings, you're not supposed to indulge in that because you understand morally, or you can understand that the damage that it can do societally to that person, what have you. The homosexual, I'm going to say it that way because the other word is offensive, but the homosexual should not, I don't believe you should let your inner feeling of, I want to bang the same sex as me. I don't think that you should let that take over. You should find a better way and try to know and understand, hey, I have a problem. Just like the pedophile has a problem sexually, so does
schizophrenic has a problem.
They have a problem. Exactly.
So you diagnose this as a mental disorder versus a natural part of human existence.
It's just like people who are born without an arm. There's always going to be disabled people who are born. There's always going to be people with disabilities that are born, but we should not celebrate them as leaders in our society. We should not promote that lifestyle to children. We should not tell children, "Hi, kids, humans have 11 fingers." Just because someone is born with 11 fingers doesn't mean that is how society should be. Just like we should not teach children being a homosexual is just another way. It's just another sexuality, another way of living. We shouldn't teach that because it comes with a lot of depression. It comes with a lot of suicide rates. It comes with a lot of disease. We all know that this type of lifestyle is more prone to HIV. Why? I have no idea.
That's an interesting perspective. I disagree with it. However, I think there are other members of the panel.
Is running rampant.
No. I think I've spoken enough. There are some other members of the panel that would like to speak.
So, Coach Kelly, K, I don't know if you had a chance to answer the question.
No, but I will say, although one could consider that a very, 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 very touchy subject, still the way that Amira and Raul, liar, I heard your background. I'm like, what's his story today? Because I was like, if you're a journalist, I want to read your work. But
that's what I do everything. That's
I know. I'm done with you. But at least talking like adults, still it's good to see. And at least like Amira has reasons for whatever she believes, because some people, they just believe a certain way and they don't even know why. But as far as the question, I kind of was listening in just so I could get an idea where the conversation was going. Yeah, anything, I would say what Amira said, cheating, domestic, well, DV, but that depends. Like, yeah, there's a line. But I think a crime, like a really heinous crime, like let's say I found out, but I don't know how I wouldn't know during the dating and, the courting process that he had this history. But let's say, for example, that I didn't know. Yeah, like anything heinous, like, yeah, like I don't want to say the words because it might get dinged, but yeah, anything they're doing to someone else, yeah, I can't do that. Can't do that. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so no criminals, no criminal background.
It just depends what it is. Like if it's drugs or something,
Raul,
I don't care.
He would be down with his woman if she robbed a bank. He's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard it. But if it was like armed, like robbery, no, because then you were like about to harm someone else. Okay. Yeah, like non-aggression principle type of thing. Like that's kind of where I'm going. But
so anything else you'd ride for your man?
If it was in the past, but if it's happening now, I don't know. Like it's so hard to.
That's the best way to rob a bank is armed. Why would you not?
I know, and we do believe in this in the 2A, but yeah, I don't know. Like that's just so silly too. I just feel like it's just like you get caught. Well, see, now my mind is going wild. Like there's probably like electronic ways now at this point, but
I mean, as far as robbing anything, I think it's silly if you're not going to rob big. Like I like those sophisticated heists where they make like millions and millions and then they can retire in another country. I hate when people steal like a little bit of money. It's like, now I went to jail for nothing. No, right. I want a big heist. Sounds so terrible.
Yeah.
Go big or go home. Okay.
That's right.
Well, that's actually going to segue into our first question. It's a two-parter. It's what are real life deal breakers in a relationship, and do you think these conversations are being had up front? That is the first question. Two-parter. Let me know if I need to repeat it.
For us was financial problems that we couldn't, in my last marriage, we couldn't really go over. But we never spoke about it. We never spoke about our goals, what we're doing. We got married really young. So those conversations not being had, like, hey, what's your long-term goal? What are we going to do? How are you saving your money? And are you looking to invest? Like, so financial, I would say.
Okay.
I want to add, now that we're thinking about it, I had one thing that could lead me to divorcing. And I think that would be if I found out, if someone called me and said, your husband set you up to be murdered for, your inheritance or what have you, that would be a reason that I would consider, because if you are plotting to have me done away with, because, then I would divorce at that point. That's probably one of the only things that would make me divorce. And just like Coach K said, even domestic violence, there is a limit, because if a man is actively trying to kill you, that's unacceptable. Like I said, if it involves you passing away at the hands of someone, I don't think that that's okay. But a little slap here, a little slap there, we can work past that.
I'm not cool with the little slap.
You're better than me, because it not be me, honey.
Unless it's on my ass whilst we're having sex. That's the only slapping I'm okay with.
Yes, in the bedroom, not on the streets.
Oh my gosh.
And some hair pulling.
You guys are so sensitive. Jeez, this is why Western women don't have husbands.
You're not slapping me in the
No, I think with that, I think most of the time I agree. Most of the time I agree.
Western women are weird. They will watch a pimp. They will laugh at a pimp slapping a hoe, but they don't want to be slapped themselves. We're weird over here.
I don't.
We're weird over here.
I'm fighting for
Mike. Would you stay with your wife? Would your wife stay with you if you gave her an open hand slap in the mouth?
If she wanted
it. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about.
So you know what? Yes.
I went to the bathroom.
Yes,
are we not talking about?
So that's so uncharacteristic of me. That she would just be, I don't know what's going on. You know what? Here's how you get a Nigerian. She gonna tell my mama. She gonna tell my daddy, and I'm screwed. I'm screwed. So she gonna know what to do. She'll be like, you know what? I don't know why you did this. I don't know what's gotten into you. I'm gonna tell your mama. No, I'm gonna tell.
I have something to say. I have something to say. I most of the time agree with what with Amira. 95% of the time I agree with some of the things. This time I totally disagree, and it's not empathetic with people that have been in abusive relationships, especially because no man only wakes up and slaps you out of nowhere. Even if you've done something, it doesn't happen. Usually I've been in the position, I've been a victim of domestic violence, so I know that it doesn't happen just because. They start with the emotional abuse, with the verbal abuse. So if a man is slapping you just because, which is not just because, obviously he has problems. He's also abusing you. He's abusing you verbally and emotionally. And women.
Wait. I was with you until you said, oh, it just starts off like this and starts like, no. In the majority of cases that I've seen, men don't just come home and start beating their woman. Typically, I would say around 75% of the time, women start the physical altercation and then get their arses kicked, and then they complain that they were domestically violenced.
Let me tell you. I'm not talking about the women that go to police and be like, oh, he hit me. Most women that are being violented at home, they don't even say anything until they're like, done. I'm telling you, I never told anyone. I called the police show up until the next day, and he was already on his knees begging for forgiveness because I was gonna send him to jail. So I didn't even tell my friends about it. Nobody knew about it because I was so embarrassed that I put myself, because this is the thing, the damage gets you to think that you are the problem, that you put yourself in that position. And I never did anything. I never kind of like put a hand on him, ever, never. So I'm talking about the women that are really violented. Like the women that say something, it's usually not like that. The women that are just screaming to the world, oh, this man is doing. No, it doesn't happen like that. So that's why I'm saying, like, a man is not just going to, oh, just because you didn't do the dishes, he's not going to slap you just because of that. You know, like a man is not going to slap you just because you didn't cook. That doesn't happen. It's not like that. So that's why I disagree with that point.
I have a question for Amira, because
why are we using violence? I'm so confused.
No, I have a question for Amira, because you've said this multiple times. I just want to get an understanding. When you say that, do you mean like a discipline, as if they were to discipline a child, like you didn't do something, now I'm going to pop you type of thing? Or do you mean like abuse?
No. I've always said that I'm against a man. Like any man that uses a closed fist on a woman is a piece of crap and should be handled by other men, in my view, because that's completely wrong. But what I was talking about was mostly disciplinary. Like, there are times I believe that men should have authority over their women. I don't believe that, of course, a man should just go around backhanding his woman for no reason. But I've seen in so many cases, especially in this country, women out of control in public. Women who, and then the man, his hands are tied. He cannot do anything because, God forbid, he sets his woman straight, teaches her something. Oh, then the police have to be called, because you can never, there's no reason to ever put hands on a woman. Yes, there are plenty of reasons. And this is why I say, let's be real. Women are not little fragile children who can't, women know when they're acting out of line, and they know that they can't get corrected for it in this country. They know that. So this is why they act the way they do. And that's why
I wouldn't want to expose my child to that, so I wouldn't stay with that person. Like,
that's
exactly.
That's all you're.
But you know what? It makes sense at the end of the day. That's kind of like what Kelly was asking. Is what is the non-negotiables? So for her, she will take it. To me, I wouldn't put myself through that ever again. So I definitely speak about it, and I'm like, I'm not dealing with abuse. I'm not any type of form of abuse. But I have to say, I'm saying no verbal abuse, no emotional abuse, no physical abuse, because it escalates. But I am making sure that I am not going to disrespect my man by verbally abuse him, by verbally talking to him in a different way, or emotionally abuse, because I'm not going to put myself in that position to be disrespected. So if I want to be respected, I'm going to make sure that I don't do those things, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's just my non-negotiable.
But in your culture, things are a little different. That's why I was trying to get understanding on what you're talking about exactly. Because when you say it, I'm thinking more like how if I tell my son not to do something, he doesn't do it, I can pop him.
Right.
Is it like that?
There's a difference.
Can I add some context? Can I add a little context?
With Sugar Mike, 1 minute, I just want to answer Kelly. In our culture, there's a difference between abuse and like disciplining your woman, just like there's a difference between abusing a child or disciplining him. It's not the same. A man abusing you is different. I mean, I'm not for abuse. That's wrong. But like I told you, if my husband was in a position where he was like, the only thing left right now is for me to have to corporally punish my woman because she's not understanding any other way, that would be something that I would have to look at myself for. Like, what was I doing that was so bad that I had to pull my husband out of his character to do that? That would be wrong. I'd be like, what was I doing? How out of control was I?
And that's accepted in your culture. Like, the women know that this is something that's going to happen.
But women typically act that way because we know that it's a possibility. That's the point. Even if the man doesn't.
Just like
she's saying in Western
society. Go ahead. Sorry, Amir, go ahead.
That's why I say the thing is, we know that it's a possibility. That's why we don't act that way. We know. And that's the thing I'm saying with American women. They know it's out of the question, out of possibilities. This is why they act the way they do. So if you knew that it was a chance that at the end of the day that you could get popped, I think you would act differently.
Yeah. So I was going to say, just coming from, so I can wrap it all the way around. It is a Western thing to not understand what Amir is talking about. So
yeah, that's what
I understand.
Culturally, I understand what she was talking about, and I've witnessed it firsthand. So most foreign people, for some reason, have lived with a lot of their relatives before in groups. And I've seen this firsthand to where a relative of mine, while we were all living together, and it usually happens when you come to the States, mind you. It's like they all lose their mind for a little bit, at least one time, when they get here and start seeing how women talk to their men. And a relative of mine, like the most chill person ever, wife just got out of her character, decided to put her hands on her husband. And he's looking around like, please, he's actually talking like, can you chill? And y'all know I talk a lot on these platforms about not posturing your man like you are a man. It's only so much he can take. Then she like literally like all you heard was what pop. Everybody looked. He turned around and he had this look of, it was not only like disgust, disappointment, but it was like, I'm sorry, but I have to do this. And full on wham. And that made everybody kind of stop. Now, this is the reaction I want y'all to understand. Nobody got on him. All the women in the house went and dragged her ass out the room. What the hell is wrong with you? This dude. So I had to get not counseled on this. I had to ask my older cousins who were there when they finally came to visit us in Virginia. I said, is he a woman beater or something? Because, you know, I grew up here. So I had to ask, does he beat women? They looked at me like, no, he's never put a hand on her in his life. But she should have never stepped outside of her character and tested his manhood like that, because he showed her now that she ain't never talked to him like that again. So it's perfectly normal in those cultures to see it when a woman steps out, because he's not a woman. Like, there's so many men in jail, I'm sorry, for domestic violence that don't abuse women at all. You see what I'm saying? So it's weird, because as a Nigerian, I understand what she's saying perfectly, but I also understand how Americans wouldn't understand.
I think an interesting way to
but
put
no,
this
that's
in
why I was
perspective-
asking to get understanding, because it didn't sound like boom, I can punch you in the face. It's more like a child, like they are allowed to like discipline their wives like they're one of their children. That's what
I will tell you.
That's why because the way it sounded is like, oh, he's just gonna come up out of nowhere and just hit me. That's the way it sounded. That's why I had to clarify that. Usually,
I will give you the distinction right now. The men who are abusers, they're the ones who initiate. They don't have to be provoked. Every man that I've ever seen do that, he is provoked. Most men do not provoke, and the data in America even says women start like almost 80% of all domestic violence incidents. They started. They put their hands on the dude first. So the men who don't abuse women, go ahead.
Before we start like putting the whole thing between Western and Eastern things, just imagine, just they kill the genders. There's a guy that's 6'4", and there's a guy that's 5'4". The guy that's 5'4" punches the guy that's 6'4" in the face. Would all of you be okay with a 6'4" guy punching back?
Yeah.
Most of you would say yes.
Period. Sorry.
And so I was raised up very Southern American, which is you just don't hit women. And it does create problems, yada, yada, yada. We just don't hit you. It's just how it goes. We can't. Your mother would look at you with disappointment, and I'm not dealing with that shit. You know? But if we go into reality where all the sexes are equal, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
5'4" guy, 6'4" guy, 5'4" guy walks up and he has to jump and punches that bitch right in the face. Are any of you going to be pissed off if the 6'4" guy punches him back? You would say no. Now, if I change that 5'4" guy to a woman,
everyone would say.
For me, I would say now I'm pissed off. It shouldn't be that way, but it's how I was raised. And so I'm torn. I understand what Amir is saying, which is, you know what? You're right. Sometimes women pop off. And it's like, if you were a dude, I would punch you right fucking now. You can't do this shit. You're damaging the social structure that's all around us. You're just pushing so much further because you know you won't get hit. If you were a man, I would punch you. But I can't because you're a woman. And once again, I still feel that's right because you guys, the physical difference is so much different.
There is a social.
If I hit you, it's different if you hit me. It really is different if you hit me. You really don't have a chance of knocking me out unless you're like an MMA trained fighter. None of the women on this panel have honestly a chance of hurting me. Not at all. It's like if children hurt me. I would not smack at children that hard if they punched me. I would say stop.
Raul, there is a social contract that we have, and you just spoke on it. The social contract is men do not hit women because they're ladies. When you act like a lady, you don't get treated like that. I've never seen a quiet woman get backhanded for no reason. I've never seen it. Never. In movies, yeah, but in like real life, a woman just doing her normal things and doing what she's supposed to do as a woman and all of a sudden get backhanded, never seen it. But I've seen
because those women are not saying it. That's why that was my point.
Stop
that
it. This is not a Lifetime movie, Saida. This is not a Lifetime movie. It's real life. That's not.
No, I do have friends. I do have friends.
No, I think you don't. I think you never heard a friend telling you that she was being abused. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Amir,
I'm talking about the men. Just like Trigger Mike said, the men that are abusers, they're the ones that start the issue. They are the ones that do it. And these type of women that have been in this type of abuse that they never, out of their character, and they're just literally being abused because it exists.
I think
you never hear about it. You never hear about it because it's traumatizing, it's embarrassing. You're not proud to say it, to be honest. I'm not gonna say the reason why he was at fault.
Well, she already agreed on that. I think we're talking about those are like the other cases. I think we can all agree, like, if she's a quiet woman and didn't do anything, like, no, for sure. Yeah, like, I put him in the jail. I have
a friend who is Caucasian, and her first husband was very abusive. He used to try to light her on fire. He used to hold her at gunpoint in the closet for hours. He smacked her because she put tomatoes on his sandwich.
No, that asshole should die. That's what
I'm saying. Like, but she was very sweet. She was very kind. She was very docile. She wasn't argumentative. She was one of those people who's like, I just like my environment quiet. And he used to beat the shit out of her. So she didn't deserve that. I know she didn't come out of character. Her now husband loves her, and he had to help her get away from that guy. So I know those stories exist. I think there are both types. One is, sorry, excuse me. I'm just getting over COVID. But
yeah. How are you guys feeling?
Oh my God. It was the worst sickness I've ever experienced in my life. But that's my story.
It doesn't feel good. Mm-mm.
But yeah, I know both types exist, but you can go ahead and finish what you were saying, Coach K.
The only thing I wanted to say was I totally get what Raul is saying as far as men shouldn't hit women. And obviously, again, I'm going to preface with saying those situations that fall under DV, SA, any of those category of their own, totally do not condone. I believe in the not alive penalty, just to be, careful. But that's a whole nother topic. But but I think, like, with, again, what Raul was saying, it would be the case if women, I guess, were still acting like women, but again, they still are smaller in stature, bone density, all the rest. But at the same time, it's like, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? You can't start acting like a man and getting in his face and, whatever, and then still deserve to be treated as such. I still personally would not lay my hands on anyone. But at the same time, if he does, well, again, it's just like the standards aren't the same. But traditionally, I totally am with you on what you were saying, though, Raul. That's all I want to say.
I don't think anybody should put hands on anybody. Like, use your words.
Toxicity, if you're gonna give out toxic energy, you're bound to get it back, right? So at the end of the day, like, if someone is gonna, I had to leave. Like, I'm not that person. I'm not an abusive person, so I can't be with someone abusive, right? And at the end of the day, like, with the whole slap around, and I'm not into that, because once that starts, it escalates. It always does. So it's not going to be anything healthy. Why be in that situation? Why have to worry about walking around eggshells around someone? I'm not that person. I want to be free. I want to be able to speak freely, be a free person. I'm an individual, right? So a lot of times, anyway, I'll end there.
Shan, I know you came in late. Did you hear the question? No. Okay, so the
question was a long fucking time ago. We've been on 3 tangents since then. But Shan, please feel free to join.
The actual question is, what are real life deal breakers in a relationship? And do you feel these conversations are being had up front?
Do you want me to give my deal breakers, or
yeah. Because I want to. I'll send you the questions. I'll send them to you now. I usually send them in advance, so I'm sorry if you didn't get them.
I guess you guys have spoken abuse, so I guess that will be a deal breaker. I guess for me, I like intellectual conversation. So someone who can speak to me and teach me new things. If he can't do that, then that's probably going to be a deal breaker for me.
So I'm dumb guys. I'm sorry.
Sorry, y'all. It's been a long night. Something else. That's my alarm. Let me see. A deal breaker. I think we spoke on this. Someone who may have entertained the opposites, so like the same sex. That would be a deal breaker for me. And what was the second question? I know it was a semicolon. What was the rest?
Do you feel like these conversations are being had up front, like before marriage happens? Do you feel like people are talking about these things?
I do not think that these conversations are happening up front, because I know they aren't. Because when I was, I'm dating. Well, I have somebody now, but when I was dating, I would come with these questions, and they would look like I'm the first person ever to come with questions like this. So I know they're not being had. I think that the more we talk,
they're kind of like, I've never talked about this before.
Nope.
Yeah, and so we're talking about it today. But yeah, I don't think that these conversations are being had. I think that people are waiting too late to have important conversations that could make or break a relationship, and that's where the problem comes in. You get too far gone, your heart is involved, and then a conversation comes up that can make or break the relationship, and you don't know it. Especially for women, because when our emotions are involved, our heart is involved. It's hard for us to them red flags. They could be slapping us in the face. We're just gonna take it and move forward in a divorce. Whereas if you have those conversations before the heart gets involved, then everything else will flow. It's like, okay, we've had those conversations, we're on the same page, we think alike, the values are there, and we can move forward. But no, they're not being had.
This wasn't on the list, but I'm curious, why do you think people don't have these conversations?
For one, I think that I don't think people before, let's just take before internet, before podcasts, I don't think that women or men I don't think we knew that we were so different in thought. I think that when we went on dates, we thought we were on the same page. But now that we're having these conversations, we're finding out, no, men are definitely from Mars, women are definitely from Venus. We're totally different.
Men knew, Shan. Men knew.
Men knew.
We knew we were different.
Okay, so when you go into these relationships, you're thinking you're there for the same thing, only to find out you're not. So those questions have got to be had. Now, sometimes you may get somebody who's on the same page as you, but it's so many different people at different times in their lives, so you have to have those conversations. But I do think that the internet is helping. Again, before the internet, before these conversations were taking place through podcasts, I think we were just clueless. We just really thought it was an assumption when you went on a date that it was going to lead to this. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, but maybe guys thought one thing and women thought another thing, and it was like the wrong thing.
I think the reason why people don't talk about it is because they don't even know their boundaries. They don't respect their own boundaries.
They have no boundaries.
They have no standards. So that's why they don't even know what they want or don't want. And that's the reason why, and they are just fantasizing with the idea of marriage instead of what the real meaning of marriage is. Because marriage is not, it's like they see it as the getting the ring and the wedding is the end goal. Like, oh, that's the finish line, when it's actually the starting line. So
it's like the honeymoon phase.
Don't you feel like that's kind of television that set us up to believe that? Like, you see the whole fairy tale, Cinderella, they live happily ever after the wedding. That's it. Oh, the prince got the princess, and then they live happily ever after. But what is happily ever after? Like,
right, because they never show you that part. They just show you the wedding. And they say they live happily ever after, but nobody shows you happily ever after.
There's a study of that. There's a study that shows the 7-year crisis, the 10-year crisis, the 15-year crisis. So it's kind of like within most of the marriages. It's not a rule, of course, but it's generally speaking, most marriages will have a crisis during these years for XYZ, right? So I think the non-negotiables are things that cannot be controlled. because financial, for example, those things at the end of the day are, yes, you can control them, but if something happens, it's out of your hands. Like if the person loses the job or something like that, you're with your man through thick and thin. But some other stuff that he could control or she could control, like cheating, because that's more like a character type of thing. The way I see it, that's the way it is. Why not looking for help before, when you're seeing the problem, you seeing that we're distant? Why not fixing it when you're looking at it? Just when you're having financial issues, you're like, okay, I have to do something about this. If I'm in debt, then I have to pay it, and what the strategy that I'm going to use to pay it. So why don't you act the same way when it's just more like a character thing, the way I see it? But I think it's because they don't have boundaries and standards.
I'd like one of the men to answer this as well. Why do you feel like these conversations aren't being had on the front end of a relationship?
Trigger Mike, there's only two of us, so I'm going to volunteer you for first.
Okay, sex. Sex is the reason why people don't have substantive conversation. When you include sex in the relationship, it clouds your judgment. I'm talking to the men more specifically here. Everything you wanted to know about her, you forgot because now you're just trying to hit the ass again. So I tell people all the time, you looking for a wife, keep sex out of it as long as possible. You're going to want to know everything because I'm developing a concept, like a show, right? To how much you attribute to finally find your wife. You want her to be 25% for you, 50% for your children, yada, yada, whatever. So you might find that part that's for you and fulfill everything that's for you. Then you get to ask. Then you forget to worry about the part that's for your children, right? So you forget to ask all of these questions that you should be asking to figure out what qualities, what values, what characteristics she has to sustain a functional, productive relationship. But nope, that ass in the air. And that's the part you love now. So you're infatuated with that. And then you forget to have the rest of the conversation.
Okay. Raul Duke or Lapeef, did you want to chime in on that part of the question?
He's not wrong.
Okay.
A lot of the times you'll see us joke to each other where we think with a big head or the little head. A lot of times the little head takes over, ladies, and you do have that power.
First off, I don't know who you. No, I'm not calling it little head. Change the name. Change the name.
My dick is much smaller than this fucking thing. Okay. I don't care how big.
All man over here, Raul.
It's bigger. I understand.
We can have two big heads or whatever, right? But you call yours little head.
My cock is not huger than this fucking dome I have in my head.
How about Southern?
Legs. We have a fucking
Southern.
Anyway,
You're gonna be like, hold up. There's no little heads over here.
We'll say this is a bigger head than no matter what I can grow down low.
Everybody else got it except
give him a nickname.
Let's just do that. A lot of
times, Trigger Mike's head number 2.
A lot of times, men will think sexually versus intelligently. Women will always have this power over us. We accept the fact that you have this power over us. To be honest, we kind of like it. It makes life more interesting. The fact that you can do this to us. If it was only men in this world, right? Like God started over on another planet and we just dropped men into it and there were no women in the world. You know how boring it would fucking be? Women bring spice. They bring life.
It would be very boring.
It would be horrible. I would kill myself. I have no reason to hang out with the rest of you dudes. Women make life worth living. Now, don't go to your heads, ladies. A little bit you can. But we like having you around. Even if there's no sex, we enjoy women. Just the way you think, the way you behave, the things you do, the way you smell. It's wonderful for us.
That's true. We do smell better than most guys.
And you know what I realized? You're probably thinking, Raul, are you married?
Not anymore.
Okay, regardless. You're probably thinking of a woman that you desire or desired, when you're talking like this. Because some people are like, oh my gosh, you're such a simp. You know what I mean? But it's like, sometimes I feel like in these conversations, I want to think about, of course, I'm married, so I think about my husband, but let's think about the people we actually like. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to point that out. You're funny though, but of course you're talking about women you actually desire. So just want to point it out.
Who thinks
No,
about
please continue. I'm sorry I interrupted you. I fucked up your train of thought. Go ahead, Coach. You had some good shit to say. You were going somewhere.
Oh no, I was just saying that, like, just I know how people usually act when men speak decently about women, but I actually wanted to answer this too quickly. So everyone kind of touched on some of the, well, I'm thinking of the extreme cases like the crimes and things like that, but some of the non-negotiables, I would say, and me and my husband didn't have these conversations until later on, and I would encourage all young people or anyone considering marriage to have them early on. As far as religion, kids, like political ideology is a big one for me, just because that kind of encompasses somewhat, not all, but their morals, their values, kind of like somewhat of like their personality, I guess, in a way. So that's a big one. Of course, you know, people on the other side, you're fine, but I wouldn't marry you. And actually though, with my husband, I got really lucky because he's not religious, but it's actually really challenged my faith because he asked hard questions that I didn't know the answer to. And ever since then, my faith has never been stronger because I just spoke on it, and it was a goal of mine, and I've been working on it ever since. And he's actually coming around too. So for the most part, you know, you want to be wary of that, but it worked out in our case. And I think people don't talk about it because they probably just want to wait. But for how long? You know, you don't want to, if you find out that they don't want the same thing as you, you'd rather know right away. And I think that's something that Kevin Samuels talked about, was like, would you date them all over again if you knew this now, or like if you knew this at the beginning? So you should ask yourself that, you know, and ask those types of questions. But it's better to know, but also to know what you want too. I think that's a barrier sometimes. People don't even know what they want. So that's all.
Did anyone else want to answer? Did everyone have a chance to answer this question? Going once? Going twice?
It's 10 o'clock. You better start moving it.
All righty. Going to the next
You
question.
told me this whole show, Kelly, you told me this whole show was about blonde women and whether or not they have more fun. And so I feel like I've been catfished here. You're fucking with me.
You know what? I will throw that question in at the end. I'm sorry.
Okay. Because you're like,
you got the question.
Who can answer that question though? There's not one blonde woman on this panel.
I know. It's a whole catfish routine. I shouldn't be here.
Raul Duke is he's the expert on the subject. So I do have one super chat I'd like to read. It's from Billy the Kid, $4.99. Thank you. It says, love and respect, fam. Shout out to my sister from a different Mr. Miss Kelly. Hello. And my big bro, JR. Thank you for that, Billy the Kid. And I'll move on to the next question since it's 10 o'clock and I got to hurry. Does your personal happiness matter more than your relationship? Why or why not? To some people, it does. Don't act like this is a weird question.
So when we say relationship, are we talking marriage? You're saying marriage, right?
Sure, we can say marriage.
Okay.
Marriage or marriage practice, I think it matters. Both of it matters. But
I think that if you're courting and you are definitely moving with intent, and you're married, then absolutely your marriage should take priority in your life over your happiness, because that's what you chose. You chose this man to lead your household, so you should move accordingly. And so your happiness, it's going to go up and down. You're responsible for that. But as far as just a guy that you met and you guys are just dating or whatever it is that you guys do these days, that's a little different. But we're talking about a husband
And at what point does that crossover take place? Because you can meet 5 guys that all want to date you or court you. You don't put your happiness court. You don't put your happiness to the back burner for any guy you just meet randomly. At what point do you make that crossover? Like, okay, now at this point, you matter more than my happiness or whatever. When does that shift take place?
When you get married and you build a family with this man, and it's about the household, it's not necessarily about you. You're not the only person in the household. You should take the household for, everybody in the household opinion matters. So when you talk about children, your husband, whatever he's got going on, those things, unfortunately, will take priority over your happiness. You'll be happy again later on. But
I asked that because, a lot of men will look at that before they choose to marry you. They're going to be like,
how happy she is. Oh, of course. You don't want to go in with a miserable person. Come on.
No, I mean, if she puts her happiness first, but I don't think that you should. Yeah, I don't think that you should necessarily, okay, I met you today. At this point, you matter more than my happiness. At what point does that shift take place? Because men are going to be looking that you put them at a certain level in your life.
For me, it takes place when you're dating, you're getting to know a person, but when you know that this may be the person and the same thing for him, then I think that that's when you need to start moving towards being a little bit more serious, putting his needs before yours and all of those things. So that's just my opinion.
For me, I would choose my happiness because I feel like it will seep into every single member in the family, right? Like my kids, everybody's going to see that I'm not happy, right? And a lot of times I think like you should be looking for happiness, seeking happiness within yourself, whether you're in a relationship or a marriage. You have to be happy within yourself to provide that like better life for the other person, right? Because it's a partnership. So for me, yeah, it definitely matters. I think the reason why I left my marriage, the first one or my only marriage, because I wasn't happy. The person was happy, but I wasn't satisfied in the relationship, in the marriage, and even my child saw it, right? You don't want your child to see you crying or sad every morning or whichever, right? It seeps into your child as well.
Anybody else have thoughts on this? What matters more?
I think there's no like happiness, but just happy moments. So, I cannot think of me choosing someone and being with someone and my happiness having to depend on that person. And that's why something I've learned, through all these years is that whatever I do is my happiness and I'm responsible for it. But if I choose to be with that person in my marriage, it's going to make me happy too. That, their happiness, I can't be selfish. So their happiness is my happiness. And there's, to satisfy them and to serve them and provide for them, not, like probably not economically if the man is doing that, but as a mother, what am I doing for my kids? What am I teaching them? Like that makes me happy. That completes me. So, it depends on who you are and how selfish you are. If you're just thinking about you, and if I ask you what makes you happy and you don't even know what makes you happy, we have a problem right there. Because people usually think about that. Oh, my happiness. And I'm like, yeah, what makes you happy? Are you happy now? Because, you don't even know what you want. So that's why I'm saying like it's happy moments. And there's ups and downs in every relationship, but you cannot say, you're going to be happily ever after. That doesn't exist.
I like to answer too.
Go ahead.
I believe that happiness is a state of mind. It comes and goes, just like Saida said. I believe it comes and goes. And I think what we're really talking about here is the contentedness that you have with your life. Being content with your life is different from happiness, of course. And I think that is the reason why people, especially women, say, oh, I'm not happy, I because you're just not content with your life. But no matter where you go, there you are. So you think that it's your relationship that's making you unhappy, but a lot of times it's your either insecurities that you may have that's making you unhappy. The demandingness that you have of your husband, maybe you're demanding that he gives you all the attention and he doesn't, so you're not content with the situation. Because like I said, happiness comes and goes, and he's not there to entertain you or to make you happy. You have to find ways to make yourself happy. So no matter where you go, there you are. So even if you do divorce because you're not content, if that's the reason that you divorced, which is an idiotic reason in my view, then I don't believe that you're going to be so much happier by yourself, but it could happen. The other thing is, it is important to be content with your life at the same time. It is important. And if you believe that this man is the reason why you are not able to be content with your life, I mean, I would have to wonder, what is he doing that's making you believe that he is the main source of your discontent with your life? What can someone do that can make...
I think the treatment, obviously, of the person, like how you're being treated as a spouse, and if you're being respected in the marriage, could be, like I said, I think we all know, like, I've been in an abusive relationship. We all know this, right? Because I talk about it all the time. Like, we get it. And you can roll your eyes all you want, because I know your views, and I understand your views, but I don't agree.
You saw that? I'm sorry. You saw that? I'm so sorry.
Anyways. However, I just want to say, like, we have rights. Like, we have rights as humans, as in whether you're being in a marriage or being in a relationship, like, you have a choice to be content with yourself, right? You can't say, oh, it's idiotic to divorce somebody because you're not content. But yeah, like, you're not in a healthy environment where you're not thriving, whether you're with a partner or not. If you're not thriving, nothing else is around you. So
what do you mean? I want to ask you a question then. When you say, if you're not happy, then nothing else around you is going to thrive. When you say that, there's a question that I want to ask, but I can't remember. It was just in my head and now it just went away. It has something to do with, like, would you say that it's that you're not content or you're not happy, or would you say it's something else that you're blaming it as happiness? Does that make sense? Like, in so many situations, it's like, let's say financial issues, right? The financial issue is what's actually making you divorce, not the fact that you're not happy, but you just are not satisfied with the financial situation that you're in, or the sexual situation that you're in, or whatever have you, but it's not actually happiness. But you just say, oh, I'm just not happy. Does that make sense?
No, obviously situations. There's not going to be a reason why you're just going to wake up one day and choose not to be happy.
So that's what can be about your happiness specifically. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, you're like, the environment was not healthy. The whole marriage was not healthy. So yes, I think it was like the reason why, like, that helped into why I wasn't happy, right? That worked into it. So he wasn't happy either. And we were mutually understanding, we're like, you know what, this is not working out. And this is the best thing for the child. So when you have a child, it's not, yes, like, your happiness attacks, like, your child copies everything that you do. So you want to be at your best self around your child. And if you're not happy, how can you thrive around it, like, for your child? You can't.
But don't you think that children grow up best and they're the happiest with their happiness? You think about your happiness, but their happiness, that they would grow up best. And
okay, let's give, like, my parents' situation. They're still together. They've been married for 46 years. And like, more than half of those years, they weren't happy, but they stayed together because of societal views, right? Like, the cultural, they would be shamed. They just still stayed together, but they're still unhappy. And tell me, to this day, I'm 31 years old. I still tell my mom, like, Mom, you need to separate yourself, because she's not the best as she could be, as I seen my mother to be when, yeah, they were separated at one point. They went back because of cultural differences or cultural views on them, right? So I don't think you should be in a marriage. It affects your children.
I mean, as a child, as you being a child, don't get offended, but as children, we should stay in our place as children. We cannot know exactly what's going on in our parents' marriage. We don't know. What you saw on the outside, you don't know as a child, because you understand, nobody knows what happens in your relationship except you and that man, right? Just you would
a lot of times as a child in a family, you will get involved because you are in that family. You're going to, like, if your parents are going to talk to you, yeah, there's times when your parents involve you in the problem. You don't want to be in it. So anyway, there are situations, Amira, that you can't speak on because you haven't been in that situation.
How do you know?
Because the way you're speaking, it proves that. Because if you were, you would understand and not question everything that I'm saying because it happened.
I have a question. I think differently. Maybe I just don't suffer the same way as you do. Maybe I'm a little bit tougher. Maybe I
think we all are different.
I think it's just I think there's a difference between like respecting someone else's circumstances and having a little bit of empathy, because you don't have to go through the sufferment and all that to understand someone else's circumstances. That's it. By you understanding, hold on. By you understanding doesn't mean that you agree with it. You're just respecting their circumstances. That is not different. It's just being empathetic. That's it. That's the way I see it.
I think Trigger Mike was trying to say something, but I think weren't you?
So, I'm like so torn on this. I'm so torn on this because y'all know I got to stay true to what I believe, right? These things have to be black and white, because once it's gray, even the lightest gray, everybody's going to make it gray, right? People stay together for their children, period. The actual question on the table is, does your happiness matter? No, the fuck it does not. It does not. I do not give single people any smoke about anything. You've earned your right to mind your business and let everybody screw the world up the way they want to, because you did not put any circumstances in this world that you have to be accountable for. But once you have children, it ain't about you no more. Your happiness goes out the window, and it has to be that way, because we're going to suffer the consequences as we see now. With these children, all these murderers, all these thieves, all these carjackers come from broken homes because somebody didn't think enough of them to stay together. It has to be black and white. It cannot be gray. We will, in fact, the men, we're going to put it on us. We'll determine the outliers and pull the women out who are suffering the worst. But we can never make it gray. It has to be black and white. So I'll continue. Marriage is about fulfillment. It is not about happiness. It is about fulfillment. And here's how you achieve that. The success in your marriage is not measured by how happy you are. It is measured by how many problems you solve. And for those problem solvers out there, solving problems sucks. It really sucks. Being a problem solver in life, being a problem solver day to day for your children, it sucks. It's a delayed gratification exercise, not an instant gratification exercise. All right? Marriage is a service industry. Do not get involved in it if you do not want to serve. I just saw something today where the pastor was like, do you know what two people can do that look out for each other? Like, what you need? Well, I need what you need. I got you. What you need? You want so? I got you. Two people doing that can conquer anything in this world, instead of I need this, I'm not getting this. That's what we're hearing today. Always looking out for each other. That's what marriage is about. It's a service industry. Now, being in it does suck at times, but I want to liken this to the military, right? It sucks being in the military, but there is no greater recognizable honor pretty much in the world than service to the country, right? That's the way people look at marriage that do it correctly. I know it's going to suck, but when it's all said and done, my legend, not even my legacy, my legend will be intact. Look at these children we raised together. My name will live on in the name of what I've created and stayed down for, even when it sucked. What we're looking at in America is a bunch of freaking quitters because they're unhappy. Your happiness doesn't matter. The day that baby comes between that woman's legs, it don't matter. My happiness don't matter. My attitude don't matter. Right? And it just needs to be black and white like that, or we're going to keep screwing up the earth the way we have been. I yield back.
I'll go after someone responds. I know Fee was about to.
Okay, so at what point is it unhealthy, because there are a lot of unhealthy marriages. So what point do you say, okay, even if it's unhealthy, do you still stay together? Because there's no happiness, there's nothing holding the marriage together. There's no knot.
Can I answer that?
They look for help though, but that's another thing.
Yeah, after help, of course, you're seeking help. We can't act like there's divorce doesn't happen and there's unhealthy marriages. Like some people are not meant to be together.
I would say, and I don't have kids yet, but I would say, and this goes into my answer. Well, I would want to know like what unhealthy looks like. And that might sound, like tedious, but like I kind of want to really define it like, aside from abuse, guys, let's preface it, besides abuse and all the, like the terrible things, what types of things, because in how I view this question is, it's not my relationship's job, my marriage's job to make me happy. It is my job and my job alone. My husband, yeah, he's out there. He adds to it, of course, but I have to own it, because if I place my happiness on my marriage, then it's my marriage or my relationship's job to make me happy when I'm not happy, kind of like a job or something else. Now, well, I won't go into any more because I'll see what you like what your ideas are, or like examples of being an unhealthy relationship or marriage.
Hold on that, because that's no, actually go ahead, because that's one of the questions.
Oh.
But you can go ahead.
I would say, okay. I would say in a cheating, like continuous cheating going on, like open marriage. I don't even know if kids are, I wouldn't expose that to my child. I would say, like you said, aside from abuse, mental, physical, what may be. But however, there's like loveless marriages. There's no love in the marriage. So the kids are learning that love is not being built in the family, right?
Well,
so
I would even wonder what that looks like. Like, how do we know? You know what I mean?
My parents would live in two separate like rooms. My dad has his own fridge. He had his own food. It was just not, it wasn't good for us. It wasn't good for my parents. So yeah, I've seen it, right? So I mean, I can speak on it.
Let me say this about those things. In fact, and this is what we got to start putting these into better perspective, these situations. So I've seen what you're talking about loveless marriages, and that's not optimal. Of course, it's not optimal, but marriage ain't about love either.
But I think love is a choice too.
Yeah, exactly. Marriage ain't about love either. Let me explain what I was going to say to Fee. So you're an engineer, are you not? Or do you not understand that if somebody would have quit on your marriage, you would not have had the resources to become the person you are today? That's what I mean by staying for your children.
My parents never paid for my.
No, not in that way.
I mean,
I'm talking about removing a parent from a home due to selfish need and desire always affects the children. That's what I'm saying. So think about what your life might have been if they would have quit. I want people to do that. Right, we see it. Not like, you don't need to take my word for it.
No, of course, I get it. I understand.
We see that a parent selfishly removing themselves from the situation, how it affects the children. 80% of people in prison come from single mother-led homes simply because the daddy wasn't there. So somebody decided not to do that to you. I think there's a lot to be said and admired about
pew pew.
I have a question. Let's say that the man, because we're mainly talking about women not being happy since men primarily stay. Let's say that the woman isn't being abused, but she starts losing respect for the man because of his character or his moral compass. Is that a reason to be unhappy? You notice he steals or he gambles, and that's not something you were privy to previously, or you notice that he lies a lot, or you notice that he doesn't spend time with his children like he maybe pretended to. So like things like that, like things that would like grate at you.
So I want to answer this question. So if, let's say, he's stealing and he's doing just despicable things, I would argue this isn't something that we want to be happy about. I think we want to be very decisive and own it still. I'm owning it that I am not happy that my husband, the person that I married, that I love, is doing these things. Now, again, this is very like general, like, I don't know, we'd have to like come up with an example. If it were my client saying this, or even myself, I would want to make sure I'm very clear on it. Like, is he actually doing this thing? Is he actually lying? Like, I always want to leave room for where I could possibly.
Let's say you guys have like a savings that both of you are putting money into, and then he went and gambled it all away. You're obviously
nah, fuck that. They're out.
No, I wouldn't be happy about it, but it wouldn't be a reason for me. Like, I would still have to manage my emotions in a way that I could continue moving forward in my duties, in my, you know, mothering or wifely duties. And I would still work with him to figure out whatever we had to do, but I would not be happy about it. But I'd still be, you know,
because I
think we're using. I have a problem. Hold on, I'm sorry. I think I have a problem with the word happiness, because it's like we want to replace other emotions because we're just putting happiness there. Like, the way I would say, I will feel very disappointed of his actions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But that's not removing my happiness. Like, that's not making me miserable. And that's the way I put it. Like,
right, but a lot of people will blame, and I'm not talking about anyone on this panel. I'm saying just in general. I hear all the time. People will say like they're not happy in their relationship, or they're just not happy in their at their job or whatever. Like, they won't even say, you know, I'm frustrated a lot. It's like, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? It's like they just don't feel good, let's say, because they want to feel good, happy all the time.
The reason I wanted to talk about this is because can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, I keep breaking you up. I don't know why.
The reason I want to have these conversations is because we always get on panels, and it really sounds cute on panels when we say this is the way you should do it. But in real life, bad shit happens in relationships, and people don't always take it well, and they don't always handle it. I want to have the conversation to figure out, how do you get through these moments, these hard times, these trials? Because what if your husband is a drunk and he comes home every night and he's angry, or he falls asleep and passes out on the floor in front of you and the kids? Like, stuff, but I'm saying stuff happens
for sure.
What do you do in those times? Do you stick it out?
It's
yeah. What I'll
say. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The good thing about these situations is that now that we have all the evidence, even on camera, and you can go and look at these individual situations, these are the anomalies. And unfortunately, we've allowed too many people to talk about the anomaly. So people think it's not the exception, it's the rule, that most men are like this, or most relationships. No, these are the anomalies and the exceptions. But what I will say, the more realistic thing that's happening is that all men, especially men with these type of issues, and especially as it relates to a woman's happiness, if she has one foot out the door, she's going to use whatever problem. Everybody has a problem, which is funny. And women tend to use that one problem that a guy has and exacerbate it and exaggerate it to her family and exactly to her family and friends. He's such a terrible. Here's the funny part about it. Just because a dude is a gambler doesn't make him a bad father. Doesn't even make him a bad husband. But they will exaggerate the gambling part, right? He only did it a few times because the casino was open, and he gambled away the taxes, not even his own. Like, just start looking into the story a little deeper. He gambled away the income tax, not his actual take-home pay, right? So yes, you have cause to be upset, but leave him, no, right? So like this is the funny part about it. I had to ask somebody, and I pissed her off. We're not even friends no more. He's a cheater. I'm leaving. Blah, blah, blah. I'm taking the kids. Does being a cheater make you a bad father? Yes or no? No. Why the hell are you taking his kids? You see what I'm saying? So there is so much complexity in these situations that we need to understand that if we work and compartmentalize the problem, even a little bit outside of the marriage, like, listen, I want to look out for this individual person per my vows. Right? Let me even try to problem solve. Like I said already, let me try to problem solve before I try to sell it to the world that I should be leaving. Like I said, we have people that look for any excuse to quit because they had one foot out the door the whole time anyway.
I'll say really quick.
People say,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, you
A
go
lot of
ahead.
people say it's their happiness and like, oh, I'm leaving because I'm not happy, instead of saying, hey, I'm gonna try to help him. Like, Kelly said, oh, what if he is an alcoholic? Did you try to help him? Did you try to take him to rehab? Did you try to, find help for him? Because every problem has a solution, but it's easier to say I'm not happy than finding a solution or looking for help.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you take
you go ahead.
him, however, he doesn't accept the help. How long do you stay? Right? Like you're taking him. A lot of times, the interventions don't work, right? So what do you do?
I would still help him. Like, because a lot of them deny it anyway, but what is like the first step, like admitting you have a problem? I mean, luckily, the state that we're in now, as far as advancements, we have the internet, all the things. I would not just, it wouldn't be on me, but I would seek out, resources, those around me, whether it's the church, family, whatever it has to be. But I wouldn't, I don't want to like phrase it, but in other, I don't know how else to say, but give up. Like, I wouldn't want to give up on him. Of course, not the ideal situation. And I would hope it would never, resort to that. I mean, I'm a coach. I'm going to help him any way I can to not have to use alcohol to numb the pain or whatever. But if that did happen, I wouldn't give up.
So the
Because
way
there
I was
is a
doing,
reason why they keep doing. There is a reason why they keep doing it, and you have to find the root, of course, of
yeah, a
what they're
lot of
doing.
people drink as a coping mechanism,
Why are
but
you guys
Or
picking
eat or anything. Yeah.
Why are you
you
guys
can't
picking
help.
those kind of people in the first place?
That's why I said you can't help everybody, and I think a lot of these things need to be delved into in the beginning, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
take the courtship process seriously, and you need to notice these things. If you're not happy with them, do it in advance. The way my father used to always tell us is happiness is due to a happening. So you shouldn't look for happiness. You should look for joy, because joy is a fruit of the spirit and you can't change that. So
Mm-hmm.
happiness is like, oh, it's raining. Oh, I'm not happy anymore. Oh, it's sunny. I'm happy now. It's like, it's such a fleeting feeling. So that's not what you should focus on. It should be the joy of the Lord, which it comes from God. And it's something that you work on throughout yourself. It has nothing to do with an outside source or another person.
I think all
That
of you have agreed to where marriage is hard, and it's going to be good times
sure.
and bad times. You guys are going deep into the fact that marriage is hard. You're going to deal with this shit. You're going to deal with that shit. At the end of the day, we all have hard red lines. If your wife is, molesting children, fucking divorce her. If you're having a hard time for a while, she's not making you feel happy, you work with it. I'm pretty sure we all agree on these basic tenets. Correct? All right. Kelly, what's your next question?
Wait, can I say really quick too, Kelly? Something that I think people like. Sorry, I'm just gonna generalize. Sometimes women will say, "Well, he lies. He lied to me," and they'll be really upset. But it's interesting when you see that it's not that he intentionally lied. It's that when he does tell you stuff, you don't leave space to even understand what's going on. Like, let's say there was a girl there. Like, let's say he's at a bar. This is so juvenile, but he's at a bar and there's a girl there that you don't like. And he didn't tell you because whenever anything happens, you freak out. I would understand why he didn't tell you. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, that's more of the root of the issue versus you just saying he's lying and now you are labeling him a liar. And now it's like, that's not helpful. Let's break it down. But that's just an example. I could see like real world stuff, but that's it.
Okay. Well, I do have a few super chats. I do want to read those and honor the people who donated. I have from Hunt Inc.
Make Coach K read them. No, make Coach K read them. You made me read them last time.
You can go ahead, Coach K.
Sure. Hunt Inc. Do you want me to? I'll just read the amount. $4.99. Thank you. Lack of accountability, selfishness, and arrogance ruins a lot of marriages, not the lack of happiness.
Okay. Wait, did I get it?
RS $9.99. Thank you. I show up every week to hear Trigger Mike speak facts for Black men. Much respect. Shout out to Trigger Mike and RS. Thank you, Alistair, for the super sticker. RS again, $4.99. The greatest fear to a man in marriage. I'm not happy. It's man versus the government with women's. I didn't see the last word.
I didn't take it down. I think it was Lapeef.
There it is.
Liar. Just kidding. With women's support.
Thank you. Thank you for all the super chats. Moving on to the next question. We kind of hit on it, so we don't have to stay too long on this one. It's in other countries or cultures where the divorce rate is much lower. What do you think their primary focus is in a marriage?
For us, it's family. For us, it's always family. It's always about the family and staying together for the family. Like my dad always, has that in mind. Like, if it's no longer about you or him, it's about your children, and he always put that in me. So I have a great relationship with my daughter's father. She sees him like every week or every time that he wants to. I'm actually helping him to raise his other son. Things that people don't know, but again, it's like, whatever happened between us, I know that he had asked for forgiveness already, and he regrets all that. I could have done something bad, take him to the police and put him in jail, but I knew that I didn't want it to hurt my daughter. So, it was not about me or him at that point. I have stayed for my kid to a certain point. I stayed for my family, but it got to the point that I couldn't. It was enough. And, I decided I was going to raise my kid with my father, but she was going to have her father with her all the time. So my daughter has a dad, and he's present in her life. So I think it's about the family, it's about your kids, and, their emotional stability. For us, it's family, I would say.
I think most people would agree that it's about family, but I think that the other thing is being hard workers. I mean, workers in the relationships, workers in general, we want to be contributing factors in our family. We don't want to be baggage to one another, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to say, like, for us in our culture, it's like shameful to be a weight on the family. Everybody gets up and pulls their part. Everybody does their part. Even the children do their part. Thank you, Boa, for the 99-cent super chat. Thank you so much. Or super sticker, rather. But yeah, everybody does their part. And I believe in our culture, it's all about you doing your part. Pick up the heaviest thing you can pick up and carry it. Just do it. Pick up the heaviest thing you can pick up and carry it.
For my parents, it was survival. So like they stayed together because it made sense. Like, everything was split in half. So things were easier for them. And I would say for the kids too, but yeah.
For us, my family based it on biblical principles. They didn't believe in divorce, so they stuck it out.
That's a good foundation too.
Anyone else?
That's a good one. Do you think, Kelly, and Amira probably, because when it comes to religion, I would say, if only one person has the biblical principles, like if only it's just the woman, for example, and the man is failing, it's not going to work, and vice versa. If the man is the one that has the biblical principle and the woman is not, but then that will be the man's responsibility to kind of lead and guide the woman. That's the way I see it. But I think it has to be both people, like really wanting to have those principles and to core and keep it.
I think if the husband is a strong male leader, he brings the wife along, whether she's with it or not. But if it's the woman kind of doing like a missionary dating, then it's less likely to work that way. The husband has to be the leader, because at the end of the day, there was no not going to church.
I want to add something too when it comes to that, because I'm going to disagree for a specific reason. I disagree because I believe most men aren't really that religious and that much of a, God and Jesus and everything. Most men aren't. I believe women they tend to be more into the religion stuff. So from the majority of families that I've seen, even in Islam, we have a lot of men who don't pray. They don't do their 5 prayers. They're not very devout, but they are Muslim. They're Muslim, and the foundation is there, what Cyber was saying, as long as the foundation is there. But the woman being more devout and showing the children how to pray, and the children look up to the mother and see her praying. There's something special about a child who watches a praying mother for some reason. It's just that the child feels safe knowing that the mother is constantly trying to bring energy, some positive protection energy along with the family to them. Does that make sense? Like having a mother or a grandmother praying for a family
makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I've met a lot of men from Saudi Arabia that have come over to America. And when they're here, they do not keep the tenets of Islam at all. And they're constantly what I would consider to be debauchery if I was a practitioner of Islam. But then they will go back to Saudi Arabia. These are the guys I've met. They'll pretend like that never happened. And they'll meet a nice girl like you who has fulfilled the tenets of Islam. And they'll pretend like their entire stint in America never happened.
I wanted to add
so many like that.
Add something along with that, with the whole the women being more religious. The men, from what I've seen as well, is that you see that you're talking about the men who come from different country, and then they come and they're religious in their country, and then they act like nothing happened when they get married and so on. For some reason, I think that if you have 2 really religious parents, it creates children that will go astray because there maybe is too much. It's too overwhelming to have both parents that are very much into religious. This is why you see so many preachers' children's going crazy, because they had 2 strict religious parents and there was no balance. There was no, and that's why I believe that with the man being a little bit less religious, but still keeping the foundation, like Saida said, keep that foundation, but not as practicing, and then the woman being more practicing, I believe it does create a little bit of balance in the home. Now, I'm not recommending that people do that. I'm just saying from what I've seen.
From what I've seen, they had no practitioners. They were completely blowing it off, and they went back home like nothing happened.
That's interesting, but that does make sense, because I'm almost thinking about it in a affectionate way. Like, women are very expressive, just outwardly, I guess. And then the man, he follows his duties, of course, but he's not because something that I've been working on is just the intimacy part of my relationship with God. And that's just been it's so impactful. But then I wanted to speak on the earlier part where, again, I'm Catholic, but I'm Christian, and my husband, I would say he's a believer now, and he's going to be getting to know God and know the scripture with a man in the church, but I think what made it doable is that he still is, he has every great character, great morals, all of it. Of course, I'm well, what are you tying this to? But he just knows it's just right. But as I've gotten older and really learned what marriage is about, family, all those things, of course, that's something that we're going to share together so that it can only strengthen our marriage, and then ultimately raising our children also. But he was already a great man. So I was it wasn't like he didn't believe, not that all non-believers aren't good people, but he still acted like a man of faith, if that makes sense.
To respond,
had a lot of questions. Go ahead.
To respond to Amira, I was told something a little bit different, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. I used to date a Muslim, and he told me that the men could marry women who were Muslim, Jewish, or Christian. They had to have that core belief system, but the women could only marry Muslim
God of
men.
Abraham, yes.
Well, it's not Abrahamic. It's women of the book. Now, the book has also been extended to Hindu, Sikh, and I'm not sure about Buddhists, but people of the book. No, that means, and I thought it was just Abrahamic before too, but I recently asked the sheikh and he says, no, it's a people of the book. So as long as they are believers, but no Muslim man can marry a non-believing woman. A woman who doesn't believe in God, who doesn't follow anything, he cannot marry her. And the reason this is available for Muslim men is because men, being the head of their household, they can influence a woman to raise the children a certain way. Like, let's say the man is Muslim, the woman is Christian. Most likely the children will end up being Muslim because of the father, but most likely the man will be able to influence his wife to still follow Muslim principles. Even though she may be Christian, she will still follow Muslim principles because he is the head of the house. Does that make sense?
So it does. That's why I was trying to understand what you were saying before, because
it's also into conquering. That's part of our conquering nature as well. So I don't want to go too far into that, but that's part of conquering as well, to keep the women close and go ahead.
Right. So that's how I was raised, that the husband is the head of the household, the father is the head of the wife, and the mother is the head of the children, but he's ultimately the covering for the whole household. So usually whatever he does, everyone else in the family follows and abides by. That's how we were raised. So that's why I'm saying, if the woman's has the stronger faith, in our faith, they call that missionary dating. So like, you're trying to bring him along and teach him.
We also call that the missionary position.
Oh my God.
I knew it. I felt it in my spirit.
I was born into Islam as well. So my sisters, funny, because when they got married, that's when they put on a hijab. That's when they, started following their men, because their men would lead the prayers. So all the kids, like, and her, would go behind him and pray, and he would be the one leading it. So it was different for my family, I would say.
Well, but please, that's a misconception. I hope you know that already. Fee, I hope you know that.
I think that's
a misconception. But women who are married, only women who are married wear the hijab. The hijab is something that women can do. If you're not married doesn't matter, and divorced doesn't matter.
No, right. She took it on her own will, but he influenced it, right?
Oh, I understand. Yeah, that happens a lot, where the man will prefer that his woman wears hijab. And specifically talking women who are married, they have your husband. If you're outside of the home, the women should be wearing hijab and the outside, just to, I don't know. I mean, it just creates a different nature, different feeling between the pair. If she's outside, the husband and wife are outside.
Right. So she wouldn't come out in front of my dad, like, without it on, like, literally, right? So even they come outside, like, she wouldn't wear it.
Yeah, you could. Although your father would be her father-in-law, right? And a woman she's not required to wear hijab around her father-in-law. These are men that are not available for us to marry. So
now, you as strong women, you're perfectly fine with your patriarchal male influencing you on your religious beliefs, correct? No problem there.
I wouldn't.
The man holds the household. He will tell you how you should worship God, correct?
Yes, he's supposed to teach his women.
Fee?
For me, I know many are religious. I'm spiritual. I am a spirited person. If you have a good heart, like, that's what I go with. Like, if you're a good person, because I've known many religious people who are very dark inside. So I would stay out of it. I'm a spiritual person. So as long as that person is a good person, he gives, he donates, he's a giver, that's all that matters to me.
Provider is more important than their spiritual teachings.
Right. We're both good people. Like, I don't go in deep into the whole religion thing. Sorry.
Amir is different, whereas the man will be the spiritual leader, which this is a lot of Christian religions too, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Abrahamic religions are the man will lead the household as he directs you towards God. Amira believes it. Fee's okay with it. Coach, Sarah, Kelly, how do you feel about that?
I believe it. Absolutely. I wouldn't date a man that's not Christian. I dated the gentleman that was Muslim. We dated, but we ended up not getting married. Like, he wanted to get married, but it was like we couldn't align on certain things. And I knew for sure we couldn't have kids, because he said he absolutely wanted his children to be Muslim, and I absolutely wanted my children to be Christian. So it was just, there were things that the conversations we had in advance was like,
You know what's surprising? I was gonna convert to my ex-husband's religion just so we can all be, in the same faith. We have God. I believe in God. I believe there's a higher power, right? As long as you are intentionally praying with your heart, whoever you're calling out to, you're reaching, right? So at the end of the day, I was going to convert. However, he wasn't much of he didn't want to go to church. Like, I'm like, hey, let's go to church. Let's learn let's come together as a family. He didn't want to do that. So yes, he was Christian. My daughter is actually christened as an Anglican Christian. So yeah, like I teach her about that. I teach her about my religion as well. So she knows there's a God. She always prays before she goes to sleep. When she wakes up, she's grateful. Like, I have instilled that in her just to be mindful and have gratitude and be kind to people. Like, that's what I want to teach her, right? Not just, hey, you must go to church or you must go to the mosque and just like pray because it tells you to do it, but because you want to, right?
What point are you getting at, Raul Duke? I feel like you were trying to make a point.
I was just curious about, we were talking earlier about how we're trying to modernize ourselves about the nature of male and female relationships and how much the man has power over the woman, correct? In not so many words, that's where we were going. As far as our more religious women on the council are concerned, the man still has a very strong influence on where your religion goes, which most Abrahamic religions are that way. The man is the head of the spiritual household, period. Jewish, Christian, and Islam all agree on that to some degree. I was curious how in the modern age, amongst the different people that you have brought around, which is what you do great, Kelly, you bring a lot of different points of view. I wanted to see how they would respond to that. You were a very strong Protestant Christian household. You said in the positive, yes, the man runs the religion. Coach K, Catholic, agreed. Mm-hmm. The man runs the path of how the family will have their religious beliefs. Amira was discussing Islam. I'm not quite sure if you are Islamic or not, but you're very knowledgeable on that. And Fee was also saying from the other side. And so far it seems like no matter how we try to say men and women are equal, once you get to a religious standpoint, it does appear from our panel that if you are the masculine, if you're the man in the relationship, you're the husband, you're the father, you're the provider, you do get to define how religion goes in the household. Is that correct, ladies, or am I wrong?
I think I'm probably the woman on the panel who most believes in the man running the home.
I do as well.
I do as well.
No, I think everybody agrees. They just don't want to say it out loud. Or every woman on YouTube agrees.
I don't think anyone disagreed. But
I think there needs to be order.
Yeah, and I think even if you don't believe it, when you get married, spiritually, that's what happens. You come under your husband's covering, whether you like it or not. He's going to be the one that has to go to God if something happens. He is the guy. So you can be as feminist as you want to be. Your husband's still the head of the household.
That's an interesting topic for me, and that's why I brought it up. So that's where I was going with that, Kelly. And this panel has very much come to a conclusion as far as all the women in our panel. The men have not fought against it. Therefore,
you can if you want to.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Trigger Mike looks like he wants to disagree.
I'm like, are you
fight?
What's going on here?
Are you Christian, Trigger Mike?
Indeed.
Okay.
He's very
Christian, yeah.
He's very Christian.
I can tell by his talking points.
You see the way I talk?
I've listened.
I just told everybody on YouTube to sit your ass down in that marriage.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you wondering if I'm Christian? Oh, shoot.
I was hoping. I mean, I would figure so, but you never know.
Yeah. I can tell he's Christian by his collar. See, it's got the white on the inside.
Hold on. I got you, Raul.
Bishop Trigger Mike.
Hold on, I got you, Raul.
How you doing?
I got you, Raul. In the name of the Father. This is blasphemy. This is blasphemy. In the name of the Father.
No. Stop.
Father, forgive me, Father, I have sinned.
Y'all can call him.
How long has it been since your last confession? A black Catholic priest? Like, yo, that'd be crazy. Have we met any black Catholic priests?
I've seen them. Yes,
seen them on movies, not in real life.
Yeah, I've never seen one in real life. I look damn good, by the way. So,
Bishop Trigger Mike.
I got a lot of work to do.
Like how it, yeah.
But Bishop Trigger Mike, would you like to read the super chats? Would you like to collect the offering, Bishop?
Indeed, I will read the super chat.
Offerings.
My name is, when I'm dressed like this, my name is Pastor Collection Plate. Thank you.
Okay, Pastor Collection Plate.
Pay for your sins, people. Pay for your sins.
Boa Omega, foreign currency 99 of them things. Super sticker. Thank you. Hidden Gems, my man, $5. Love the variety of cultural perspectives on this panel. It's needed when measuring our standards and productivity to other cultures in the world. Appreciate that, my guy. Very knowledgeable. Hidden Gems, $2. Salute the Trigger Mike and the Lapeef Network. My man. Again, appreciate that. Dub Will, $5. I agree with Amira. My mother is very religious and my father is not religious at all, and they have been married for over 40 years.
I win. I win.
You like that, don't you? You like winning.
I do.
RS, $5. JR, does the T Shanley help with your beard too? Asking for a friend. You want to answer? It does it?
Yes, it does.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you. That is all the super chats. Moving on to is this the last question? No, this is the second to last. Okay.
No, it's got to be the last question. It's 11 o'clock.
Is it 11? Oh, it's 11 where you
quarter
are.
till.
We'll go fast. We'll go quick. How about I just encompass the last two questions together? Will that make you feel better?
Fantastic.
You just said there was one more. Now there's two. Encompass them things.
Yes.
We're talking to women, Trigger Mike. We're the only guys on the show. Shut up.
You keep forgetting Lapeef.
He doesn't fucking talk.
He is the network. He's the network. He doesn't have to talk. You know what?
Correct.
You know what?
He's not helping me and Mike.
We'll let him answer the next question first.
Okay. Fantastic. All right.
Do not attack Lapeef like that. Poor Lapeef.
What? Get ready. Get ready. Get ready, Lapeef. He's the network. He doesn't have to talk. He's the face. Okay. So the next and last two questions are, I know we all have an idea of what happy marriages look like, right? You can base that on people you've seen, movies, trending, Instagram couples. But in reality, what does a strong, successful marriage look like in your opinion? That's the first part of the question. The second part is, what makes a relationship worth fighting for? Boom. Answer as you please. Lapeef, first, please. Sir.
To answer the first question, what does a strong marriage look like?
Mm-hmm.
Based off my experience, I would say my grandparents. I think my grandfather was older than my grandmother, maybe about 8 years, but they married at the age of like 16, and they came from Mississippi to Chicago. And based on what I seen, he took care of everything outside the house. She took care of everything in the house. The one thing that he always taught me was how to problem solve and how to make sure that the women don't worry. So I think when it came to roles, like within their marriage, was a good understanding. You know, she made sure she fed him. She made sure his plate was the first plate that was made. And even if he wanted something that was separate, she would make it separate for him and say, you know, that's for your grandfather. Don't touch that. So I think they had a balance. He didn't go to church. I know you guys brought this up on the panel. He didn't go to church at all. He would go to church every once in a while. I think the older he got, he started to go to church a little bit more, but that was still scarce. But my grandmother, she was very religious, and she would go to church every Sunday faithfully, and she would have us dressing up in every Easter. So the second part of your question was what, Kelly? What was it?
It was, what makes a relationship worth fighting for?
I guess it's up to that individual. You know, they had a mindset, and they have to set that to be, hey, I'm gonna be here, I'm being this for the rest of my life. And I think if you had the understanding in the beginning and you have something to stand for, I think Trigger Mike, and you always often talk about this too, like what is your moral compass, would you say? Like, why are you here? Why are you doing this? Like, what makes you want to do this? So I think it just starts from the beginning, from that person. And then, you know, once they have that set in their mind that they're going to do it, then they make it happen. And if it's a man and they're a good leader, I think that the woman is going to follow suit. So in most cases, if you got a good woman.
Well, thank you so much for answering the question and gracing us with your opinion.
Okay.
Who would like to go next? See, he does talk.
JR's beard is epic. That's all I know.
Yep. All you need to do is just sit there with your beard, and that's it. You have arrived. He talks a lot, by the way, you guys.
He does. He really does. I'm sorry, JR.
They tell him what you do.
They do. Tell him about our love quiz.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh,
love quiz.
Tell him.
Our love quiz?
Yeah, tell them.
Hello.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
I have no fucking clue. Our love quiz?
Tell them about the love
like
quiz.
it from behind when your hair is pulled. What the fuck are you talking about?
Lapeef. Yes, no, we can't hear you. Stop playing. Tell them.
All right, so there's this thing that we do up on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. When we ask each other a series of questions. There's like 5 questions to kind of stimulate the mind to get to know one another, and also have the people that are watching get to know a little bit more about us. So it's been pretty fun. I think we did one earlier today. It was pretty fun.
Where?
And you'll hear him talk. He talks. And he makes jokes and he's funny. Yeah.
Talk too much.
You guys streamed this or what?
Yeah, we do it live from our Instagram channel. It's at Lapeef _.
Oh, it's on Instagram.
Oh my gosh. I'm about to
see it.
I'll send it to you because we did it twice already. So
oh my god.
It's actually really funny. His responses are hilarious. So.
Oh, I'm gonna tune in.
I want to answer the question from Kelly. Oh, go ahead, JR. Sorry.
No, I just said it's kind of like a balance, man. You know, I just throw myself out there. I'm a whole fool, though, but y'all just don't know it yet.
Oh yeah.
I have footage. The stage.
I have footage. But who would like to answer the question next?
Well, I said I wanted to answer. I'll give it a go. I mean, I can't answer the second one because, like JR said, I think that's personal to the people. You know, what makes you get up in the morning is kind of the same thing. But as for a successful relationship or a successful marriage, rather, I would say the successful marriage is one that you see that each side, each like the yin and the yang, right? Each side in this relationship, in this contract, this marriage, this promise, this
agreement.
There's so many words to say it, that each side in this, I would say, understands their part, understands their role, respects the other, women respecting the man more than anything, and man loving his woman, because I believe men need respect more than anything, and women need love and attention. When both of those things are respected, and you can see that the other person cares, they care about each other, they look out for each other. Just like, what was it? I think Trigger Mike was the one who said it. Are you okay? Let me do something for you. Serving one another. I believe that is successful. That's where you find the success. And I think the majority of reasons why you have so many unsuccessful marriages is because there's the lack of that, the lack of caring about the other person, caring or putting yourself last for a second. Just put yourself last. It's always about me. The other thing is the respect factor. Like I said, I think that's another reason why marriages fail so much, is because there's no respect. Everybody thinks that they're a king or a queen in this world, and nobody thinks that they should be humble to the other. You know, be humble, be respectful, be kind, So I don't know if I said that right, but that's my view on that.
I did have a question for Father Mike.
Father Mike.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How long has it been since your last confession?
Man, it was when I was in grammar school, man.
Why do they always hold their hands like this?
I know.
They're always, at least the priests at my school, they're always fat fingers too.
Sausage fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy
it is actually a mantra. It's a mantra. It's a kind of spiritual thing because this will help you to not get nervous and like kind of like control yourself. It's different ones. You can do this, you can do this. It's different ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But
Jared,
speak
did
your
you ask
mind, like y'all.
No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say.
Oh, you're just funny.
I was like, speak your mind, my child. Speak your mind.
Oh, guys, another thing, because I don't have this stuff written down. Another thing that I thought about that was really important in a successful marriage is like women respecting the man's ego, like protecting his ego and his privacy. Because I believe that is another thing that causes a lot of issues is the lack of privacy in a marriage. You need to respect the privacy and the sanctity or sanctitude, whatever the word is. You guys know my English. Sometimes it's not very good, but respecting the privacy of your marriage and the ego of your husband, because the ego matters so much. And I always speak about the ego of men, how it matters so much. And the woman, and the man, like I said, attention. Women, we feed off of attention. No matter what she said, oh, I just want love and respect. No, she wants attention. She wants you to show her that, or make her feel like she's the only woman in the world, which is hard to do, I know. But in some ways, I think a man can win a lot of battles if he just give that just attention to a woman, because that's what she's craving from you. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
So you're not allowed to go in the bathroom when he's using the bathroom?
When my husband's using the restroom?
Yeah, like that type of privacy? You said
No, when I'm saying privacy in the marriage, I'm talking about don't have outsiders and other people into your marriage. Keep the sanctity of you and your bond with that person. Somebody in the chat said the sex is about happiness. Having sex is about the happiness. And that's not, I don't know about you guys, but I don't talk about my sex life. But at the same time, I believe sex is about the bond. I don't believe it's about happiness or what have you. I believe in the bond that is created when you have sex. It just strengthens your bond between the two of you, because it's something very private, very much something that you don't do with everyone unless you're a hoe. But I mean, something that you don't do with everyone. So that's why I believe it's about a bond. And
oh, hell yeah.
Okay, all right, I'm done.
Amir, I'm curious, would you ever go through your husband's phone?
No.
Under no circumstance. Nothing would.
There's no I have my husband's phone. I have the password. I have everything. I've used his phone. I lost mine. I use it. But never have I felt the need to
check.
No, wait. He's a man. And I respect him as a man. He's not a little boy. He's not my son for me to check up on what he's doing, why he's doing this. He's a man. If he wants to do what he wants to do, he will do it. I can't stop him from doing it. If I find out, it's because you're being bold and what is the word? Careless. You're being bold and careless about it. And if that's the case, there's a problem. But I don't feel the need to check up on him like he's my son, my child. He's not. He's a man, and I respect him as such. So no, I never felt the need to go through his phone.
And I trust him too. I don't even know how to work his phone. He's like the Samsung like Fold. I don't even know how to work it. I'm an iPhone, sorry, Team iPhone or whatever they say. But right, it's just easy. It's the ecosystem, you know, like with your MacBook or whatever. But I would say, like, I just trust him. Like, I think, again, I mean, I'm sure there's valid reasons, but if I feel the need to look at what he's doing on his phone or who he's following or who he's liking, like pictures on Instagram, I need to check in with myself and be like, all right, what's going on here? Why do you think that? And my go-to is that he's not that type of man. I would rather come to that conclusion first before I ever say, accuse him of doing anything bad or whatever.
Well, another thing is that I don't believe my husband goes through my phone either. Now, it's not that he can't. He has everything. He has my passwords just like I have his. But I don't think that he does. If he does it very secretly. But I don't think he does that either, because I don't think that, I don't give him any like reason to ever suspect me of doing something, first of all. But I don't know. He's just not that type of man. He doesn't do that either.
Same with location. Sorry, Amira.
Sharing the location. I have my location shared with him, and he also has his location shared with me. But this is not something that I was like, oh, I need to see your location. Majority of the time, I don't look at it. The only time I ever looked for it was he's at work, and he has a very strenuous job. And I worry if he's like, sometimes it's people fall off of ladders, people fall off of stuff. That's the only scary thing. But no, we don't have that kind of relationship where it's like, I need to see your phone. Let me see your pictures. Let me see your Twitter. First of all, we don't have that stuff. But yeah. So.
Right.
All right. Did anyone else want to answer? I know we're going over, I usually do like 1.5 to 2 hours. Did anyone else want to answer before we
What was the question again?
It was a long one.
It was.
Pretty much, what is your idea of a strong, successful marriage, like in your opinion, and what makes a relationship worth fighting for?
I think most of you brought on to the point. You just didn't say the actual words, which is trust. If you trust your partner, you're good. If you don't trust your partner, there's going to be problems. All of you were discussing whether or not you have passwords to their phone or all this bullshit. The idea is trust. You obviously trust your spouse. That's why you don't fucking go in their phone. They trust you. That's why they don't go in your fucking phone. So I'm sorry for cursing. I know it makes you uncomfortable. That's the basic deal. You trust your partner, you're good. You don't trust your partner, your marriage is fucked. Is that pretty succinct for you?
Yeah. Okay. That about sums it up. Did anyone else?
I'll say really quickly, I think trust is a big thing. Obviously, not that we're talking about trust, but that does go along with the phone situation. But just, I would say to everyone, like, be careful, because again, if you don't trust your significant other, your spouse, because of something within you, you are going to go snooping and looking for stuff, and that is just not a good look. Like that, your spouse is not going to appreciate that, especially when they didn't do anything wrong. That will create division like that. So just get that under control. Like what you look for, you will find. And usually it's just harmless. It's just so pointless. It's needless suffering for you. But as far as like what a happy marriage looks like, I would say, I don't know, I guess tangibly what it looks like besides going through hard stuff and getting through it, and it's going to be ugly. You're going to say mean things. And sometimes like me and my husband have tips, and then like later on we just kind of laugh. Like, I know I was being an ass, but just being committed no matter what. And at the end of the day, I truly believe there's nothing that we can't get through. We've already been through a lot. So, but yeah, that's all that I would say.
Well, I think happy marriage consists of like two best friends literally living life to the fullest and just evolving together, and there's love in it, and then like at that point you win, right? You win at life and you're together forever. However, obviously there's going to be problems that you can work through, but nothing that's going to be beyond you. Like God won't give you somebody that's going to be that hard to be with, right? And I would fight for my marriage, or I fought for my marriage because of my child, the happiness of my child. And to make that marriage better, it was because of her, not just for me. So even now that I date, I want to make sure like I'm not dating for myself either. I'm dating for my child, right? I don't bring anybody around. So yeah, like my child comes first before everything.
Well, okay, I'll be quiet.
No, don't be quiet. What you say is usually very fucking interesting. Please speak.
Raul, you're the last person I expected to say that. That's for sure.
I like what you say. I may not agree with you, but I like hearing you speak. Please go ahead.
okay. The best friend, right? I understand what you're getting at. The best friend thing that I've seen a lot of Westerners do, right? The whole like, I want to be best friends with they even call their husband partner, with my partner. I think that they're best friends. Best friends is a different type of relationship in my view. Now it's just me, but in my view, your friend is different, right? Your friend is not like, when I'm talking about my husband, there is a special place for a husband. There is an honor in being a husband. There is dignity and respect in that word, or there should be. But that is such a heavy position for me when I talk about my husband, to ever compare him to being a best friend or even a friend of the sort. This is something that I with your best friend is a little bit less of a respect thing, because you just have a cute bond with one another. You guys are there for each other when you're sad. That's nice.
But isn't it possible to be both?
This is why I was getting at.
Your husband and your best friend?
This is what I was getting at. This is why I don't understand. I guess maybe Western relationships are different, because I've seen people say like, me and my husband, we're best friends. And to me, that just diminishes or just brings down that word of husband to me. To me, it's a disrespect to the husband, the meaning of husband to me. Now, like I said, it's just my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right at all.
I don't know, because I feel like, so my sister is my sister. She's my sister by birth. We don't have to be friends, but because she is my friend and my sister. Can you not?
No. She's your sister that you are calling a friend. That is not your friend. She is your sister that you are calling
my sister, and she also holds the place as my best friend. So I have
because
other
you're
friends.
calling her friend, because you're calling her friend. But everything that a best friend encompasses.
Right. There are sisters that hate each other, though, that they don't talk, but they're still sisters, they're still family, but they can't stand each other.
Just it's the bond. It's the bond that you have.
Yeah, the bond, exactly, the bond. Right. That's what Saida, you're right. Thank you so much for bringing that word, bond. I don't know.
I've had multiple sisters, and I definitely have a better relationship with one of them because we grew up together, and I feel like I can be vulnerable with her and trust her with anything. And it's different with the other ones. But I don't call her my best friend, because there is things that I talk to my best friend about that I don't talk to my sister about, and vice versa. So I understand Amir's point, and I definitely agree with the husband thing. It's just that we kind of romanticize the situation and we want to put it cute, but I get it's understandable why you say it, because you want to compare. But in reality, my husband is my husband. I don't want to go and have to tell him like nonsense things that I talk to my best friend about. I don't know. I just
wouldn't
find
your
it.
husband be like, if you guys had that close of a bond, wouldn't he be the first person you turn to tell things? Like when something happens, I want to tell my husband.
Did you hear what I said? Nonsense things. Nonsense things that are not important. Like if it is something really important in my life, I will definitely share it with my husband. But I have to know what things he will want to hear as well, and what things he wouldn't want to hear. Because to me, it's like with my friends, it's like just nonsense. It's like you just talk just to talk. To be honest, we're women and we just talk and talk all day. So men doesn't always want to hear those things. That's the reality. And I know, because I grew up with my father, and my dad was like that. Sometimes he will be like, he will want to hear the most important things, but he was also a father that had to listen to us whenever we just wanted to talk about anything. So he also told me that at some point he had to be like, okay, this is not important right now, and I have to do something important, but we'll come back to it whenever, So he had to separate the time between like being a father and being a mom, because he was also, he was a single father. So he had to kind of like balance that out, and I had to respect his time.
See, I saw it differently growing up. My father would talk to his 4 daughters and wife about everything. I came to my dad about everything. My mom talked to him about everything. So that's different. And he could be studying for a sermon that he had to preach the next morning, and he would put it to the side. Say, hey, honey, what do you need? What do you need to talk about? What's going on? He would always care enough to listen, which was why we all had a great relationship with him. So it's just different. And that might be a cultural Hispanic it's Muslim thing.
But
I don't know.
And I get it. But you know what? This is the thing. Since we are always want to put and make people believe that our situation or circumstances are better than the others, because my father is a great father to me, and I wouldn't want to have nobody else's relationship. I have a great relationship with my father. You know, he's the best man in the world, my superhero, whatever. Everything, all the beautiful, amazing things that you speak about your father, that's my father. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on how you look at it. That was his way of leading, and it's respected. That's the way that he raised you, and it's respected. But the way that he raised me is different. His circumstances are different, and I respect that. So you see, that's the difference. When you're actually, it doesn't matter who it is. My grandfather was different than my dad, totally different, and I still respected my grandpa. My dad respected my grandpa. So, you know,
no, and I'm not coming down on the way anybody else does it. I know that my mom didn't even have a lot of female friends outside of her marriage. When she got married, my dad was her friend. So she didn't go on girls' outings. It was her family that was her primary everything.
She was a married woman. So, but being a married woman, that doesn't make him your friend. But I understand what you're trying to say. Like, the bond is close enough to be like friends, I guess. Sherry in the comments brought up a good point. Sherry said in the comments, she said something like, women want to be recognized and appreciated. Men want to be respected and honored and cared, their ego basically cared about. No, not that one. It was, she said it like a few minutes back, but she was right when she said it. I wanted to say something, but it was like, how simple can you put it? If you just simplify it, if people can go to sleep and think about that before they go to sleep, it's simple.
She's right. She's
she
right.
also said my husband is my best friend.
If we feel respected by a woman, we will perform better for you. That's a very intrinsic, hereditary value that we have. If our woman, we are here to help you after that. If men feel you do not respect us, you're either going to get a bitch of a man, and you guys all know who I'm talking about. You guys have all dated bitches. Or you're going to have a man who's strong, who doesn't feel respected, and who will leave you. Those are really your only two options. And in return, men have to do things for women, which is we have to appreciate you. We have to make you feel comfortable and safe and appreciated. And these are, as far as cis male and females go, these are some of the basics of our relationships. And so Amira, once again, is absolutely fucking right.
Looks like we're getting along more and more, Raul. It looks like we are.
We have a lot in common. We have a lot not in common. And
coming together a little
I'm
bit.
fine with both.
Have you guys noticed that mostly the people who call their spouse their best friend is women? I don't typically see men doing that.
Actually, I do. I see many.
Well, I said typically. You can see some, but I said typically it's the women who do this, who create this like friendship thing. And the most that I've seen, the most people that I've seen get divorced were those who said, I married with my best friend, and then they end up divorcing.
I don't know. I've had guys call me their best friend. So.
But they're not your husbands, are they?
But they're gonna be.
Who's they? You have a poly relationship, Kelly.
I don't want to put anybody in the hot seat. So,
Kelly.
Does his name start with L? Maybe. All right. Let's go on to the last
Moving on.
Fucking go to sleep. Please God.
Am I missing
I'm
something?
on the East Coast here, kids. Give me a fucking break.
I'm sorry. You're right. Does anybody else have anything else to say?
JR, do you have a confession?
I'm just finding out some things just like y'all are right now. I'm listening. I'm talking about like the best friend comment.
What do you think about that, JR?
Yeah, I'm curious.
So, what about that Super Bowl? That was a great fucking game. I just want to say that I really enjoyed it.
Oh, no, JR.
It was a really good game. You're right. It was.
Yeah, it was.
JR, oh my God. Please don't change the subject. JR.
What was the question again?
What do you think about husband and wife being best friends? Do you think that that is something that is positive or negative in this? Or do you even think it's possible to be
I think it's all like a label, really. I mean, people have these labels, and I think they feed into them. I think you do have a certain type of closeness with your husband and wife. There are definitely some things that you would share with one another that you wouldn't share outside of that. But as far as like best friend, it's just a label. Just a label. I think it's gonna be different for everybody. Some people may talk a little bit more, and then some folks may talk a little bit less. They may have somebody else that they talk to outside of that. But typically, when you get some good news, you probably would run to your husband or your wife and let them know first. Usually, those are your biggest supporters. So, anything negative, if it's something that's going on in the house, and I think you guys should be trying to solve for that within the house. So, I don't know. I don't get too much hung up on labels, best friends and stuff like that. I mean, I think mostly everybody outside is an associate. It's very, very few friends. I even have to tell my kids that. I say, you're so quick to call somebody your friend, your best friend.
Yes.
You don't even know these people. You just met these people. They all associates. I think I can count on my hands how many people is real close to me. But you got some other folks that got thousands of friends and best friends. They're all labels.
Amen. Yes.
I agree, JR.
I think it's definitely used loosely, the best friend title. I think the true best friend is like literally should be your spouse. That should be your life partner that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Can't wake up, you know what I mean? It should be that infatuation for your person.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I do.
But I don't think that's wrong with a best friend, though, right? If they prove themselves, right?
My husband's my father. He's like my boss. He's like my best friend, and we're not on the same level. I don't see him on my level at all. I see him.
My father was one of my closest friends.
It got all kinds.
You see, it's circumstances. It's circumstances. Like you cannot force people to believe what you believe and with how you've been raised, and that's another thing that I have noticed is that we want to make people change their reality based on how we lived our life. Like for example, I'm gonna use you, Amira, as an example. You have your religion. No. You have your religion, and you have your marriage, and you have done things, step by step. But wanting to change people's reality that first of all, they don't have they don't practice your religion, they don't do what you do. It's like we can only give advices to what works for people, what could do better, but not try to make them believe that our choices will be their best choices.
Well, that's what you don't understand about me, Zaida. I don't.
No. I use you as an example, not saying that in a negative way.
As an example, as a hypothetical. I don't do that to try to change the panel. We have an audience. I do it so the audience can have a different perspective. I will never be able to change the people on the panel, and that's something that panelists should always understand. You're not doing it for the panel. You're doing it for the audience so they can make their own decisions at home.
No, and I totally agree. Like it's not just the people here, but remember also the audience circumstances is different. I've noticed earlier that people is like, oh, why do you choose people like this? Why do you choose people alcoholic like this? I was giving an example about an alcoholic person, but that doesn't mean that I was with an alcoholic. So it's like people usually tend to take it personal and make it personal just because you mentioned it as an example. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's your circumstance, that's the way that you were raised, that's the way that you believe, then go out with it. All I can say is I respect your opinion. That's it. Like that's not what I believe. By me respecting your opinion, I don't agree with it. I don't have to agree with it. I can disagree and still respect your opinion. I don't have to roll my eyes. I don't have to be disrespectful towards your opinion because I respect your opinion. And I respect your circumstances, and I'm saying in general, and that's just being civilized. That's the way I think.
I think you should, which is the purpose of the panel, is to get different perspectives, to get a diverse opinion. And I looked up the definition of best friend. It's a person's closest friend. So if that is your spouse, it's possible for your husband or wife to have the role of a husband and also be your best friend based on definition from what I'm reading. Everybody has their own opinion, sure. I'm okay with being corrected, but that's what
thank God
so I
Google
think you
can
can be
solve
as
that for all of us.
I think what I would do is ask my husband, do you mind if I call you my best friend? Or like I will also ask him, it's just me, like I wouldn't call him my best friend because I do have my best friend. And I'll be like, hey, she's my best friend. And whenever I want to talk nonsense, I go to her. And sometimes there's things that I want to share with her that I don't want to share with you.
That's okay.
Not because I'm hiding anything. It's just that I don't want to talk to about this. I want to talk to you about other stuff. This is just simply me.
That's 100% fine. There's no reason why you can't have multiple different close relationships in a marriage.
Yes, and I agree with Amir at that point with like comparing to my father, because he's the authority of the house. And
Correct.
I didn't usually, even though my father, I could trust him and go with him with anything, I didn't have to tell him everything. I don't want to have to tell him everything. Come on, that's boring. Like I not too long ago, I told my dad, I remember when you used to make me drink milk every morning. And I used to go and spit the milk.
What?
And I was like, hold on. I was like, I'm so sorry, Daddy. I never told you, but I was lactose intolerant. And you never believed that it was creating something in me. It was creating something in me. I didn't know how to express, how to explain that it was not good to me, that my body would say, no, don't drink milk. So I got tired of saying, no, this is not doing any good, that I would just be like, psh, And then he's like, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, I didn't know how to explain it no more. Like I told you, I couldn't take it. But, things like that. Like, I don't know. That's the way I see it.
Thank you, Kelly, for having me on. This has been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everyone joining. I appreciate it. And thank you to the chat for sticking with us throughout the whole thing. I do have 2 super chats. I don't want to neglect them. Bye, Amira. Boa Omega, $2. # Lions Pride for Life. And RS.
That was for me, by the way.
Show up to the hospital.
My name.
Oh, that was for you? Okay.
Yes.
Shout out to Raul Duke. RS 499. Thank you. It says, show up to the hospital and say you want to see your best friend. Let me know how that goes. Did that go over my head? What does that mean?
They're just saying that the word best friend doesn't stand.
Oh, I see. Like, oh, I need to get in there.
Went to the hospital, somebody best friend, they'll be like, nope.
Gotcha. I get it now. Haha, very funny. All right. Well, thank you. That does conclude our show. I appreciate everyone joining and tuning in. And thank you. Be sure and like and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow the Lapeef Network. And thank you for the super chats. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next week. This is Kelly and your panel of Bridging the Gap. Bye.